Hello, everyone. Welcome to Friday Night Craft with me. I'm so excited it is Friday. I'm ready for the weekend. Have some exciting things happening this weekend. And I'm excited to do this craft with me. I've been waiting for it for a couple of weeks now, actually. The fabric and lacy play is so much fun for me. And it's something that I don't get to do very often because usually I'm playing with paper. So I'm very excited for that. Thank you all for joining me. I see lots and lots of familiar people in here and some new names in here. So hello to everyone. My name is Kate. The channel name is called Inked Paper Art. I've been doing the 365 days of junk journal ideas videos every morning. A lot of people are coming over from that. A lot of you have been with me for many years, and I appreciate everyone. New and old friends, appreciate all of you. Thanks so much for hanging out with us tonight. We're gonna work on making clusters tonight is what the main class is. However, I will be playing with fabric, lace. See, it's just built into my brain. I will be playing with fabric and lace and all kinds of different kinds of textured, I don't know, soft elements like that tonight. So we have some gauze, we have other kinds of fibers. I brought in a needle and thread, all different kinds of things. We're going to have a good time tonight making stuff and hopefully make quite a bit for the ephemera pile, either a box pile, whatever you want to call it. And yeah, we're just going to hang out. It's a chatty craft with me, but I will give you guys, just my the way that my brain works, the formulas that I've come up with for how to layer these things to get the biggest bang for your buck. Also visually to make them interesting and different. I do mine a little bit different than other people do theirs. So we can talk about, I just drank a big, huge thing of vitamin water. We can talk about the different ways of like slow stitching, if you want to do some embellishing like that, hand stitching, just little details onto your fabric clusters. You can machine stitch some details onto your fabric clusters. I will talk about all of those kind of things. We usually have to wait about 15-ish minutes as we get started here, just to let the social media apps and stuff that the streaming software I use stream to, just to let them send out their notifications that we are live. So if you want to grab a drink, beverage of your choice, if you're having a glass of wine after a busy week, if you're, drinking apple juice, it doesn't really matter. If you want to grab a beverage, some snacks, maybe you want to start gathering up your supplies for tonight because you plan on playing along. If you want to gather supplies, grab some of your favorite fabrics, maybe some scraps if you have like a bin in your craft room where you just keep all of your scraps in, like fabric, leftover little bits after a project. If you're a quilter, all of those little tiny bits of fabric that you have left over, that's what I'm going to play with tonight, are small pieces of fabric. But if you don't have any small pieces, you could certainly just cut off little snippets of your other fabrics that you like. Maybe if we do a halftime, or maybe I'll just force us to have a halftime, I will run in the other room and grab some French fabric sample books that I came in, and we can look at some of those too. But basically, you're just going to want to use little bits of fabric today. So if you have that kind of stuff at hand, that would be helpful. Lace, of course, all different kinds of lace, all different kinds of fibers, ribbon, trim, all that kind of stuff. And then if you want to sew, you can sew on your sewing machine or you can hand sew. The sewing machine, this isn't my craft room. This is the room where I do the live sales and film, that kind of stuff is in this room. My craft room is across the hall, and it has a filming studio set up in there too, but I haven't been filming in there. I need to go back and film in there. Anyway, so my sewing machine is in my craft room, so I won't be sewing on my sewing machine tonight. I will more than likely set aside some things that we work on today to take in that room and sew. But for the most part tonight, I'll be hand sewing if I do so, just because the sewing machine's in there and it's kind of hard to like drag everything back and forth between the rooms. So that's kind of what's happening with sewing. So yeah, just grab all your supplies if you want to play along. You don't have to play along with fabric tonight. You guys can make paper, you can sit and make tags, you can make collage masterboards, you could just sit and watch and relax and chat with your friends. You don't have to participate in any way tonight. It's just kind of a Friday night craft with me hangout. However, we have been working through clusters. Last Friday was paper clusters, where we talked about all the different kinds of things you can put, well, not all, but we talked about a lot of different kinds of things you could put in paper clusters, how to make them, kind of the formula for building them, some of my favorite things that I like to use in paper clusters. So last Friday was paper clusters. This Friday, today, all kinds of lacy fabric, soft kind of clusters. And then we're going to wrap up our cluster kind of class. This is like, very beginner friendly, but it's the best I can do in just 2 short sessions. So we're going to wrap up clusters tonight. Then next Friday, we're going to do a whole different little class, like a make and take, if you will, except for you have to like make and take at your house kind of a situation. But yeah, I'll talk more about that as we get going here in just a little bit. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I appreciate it. Oh, put it in the corner. I understand. I do understand. I have a fabulous sewing machine that I absolutely love. It's the Brother, see, now I don't know the exact model, CPX 1000 or something like that. And I love that sewing machine. I have had a couple Brother sewing machines before that, and I liked them too. The first one didn't last very long. This one lasted a really long time. The one before that was very old, and I'd probably used that for 10 or 20 years. But then before I had Brother sewing machines, I used to use Singer sewing machines. My favorite is not the Singer. My favorite is the Brother at this point in time. Obviously, a Genome or stuff like that would be far better for sewing, in my opinion. You can get really expensive with your sewing machines. But because I primarily sew on paper at this point, I just want a machine that isn't going to be like $1,000, $2,000, whatever, if it breaks, because I'm sewing on paper and glued things and all that kind of stuff. So the one that I have is from Amazon. It was $199 when I purchased it, and I believe it's the Brother CPX 1000. I will double check that for you guys, but I love that sewing machine. So for sewing on paper, perfect sewing machine. Has a ton of different stitches, so love that one. But from time to time, all sewing machines, doesn't matter how much money you spend on a sewing machine, no matter how much, from time to time, your sewing machine will have a mind of its own. And so that's just kind of like, you have to have that mentality of understanding that as you go into sewing anything. There will be days where your machine just does not want to cooperate. Sometimes you have to take it into the shop and have it repaired. Pieces, break or wear out or whatever. It just needs maintenance. My biggest advice to people who have sewing machines and sew on paper is to clean your machine. You need to look at your sewing machine's manual to see whether or not, some of them need oil. Most of the newer ones don't need oil, but some of them might need oil. So there's different kinds of maintenance things. But specifically because you sew on paper, if you're a junk journal, that's what we do. We sew on paper. Your machine is not meant for all of those little fibers. And I know when you think of paper, you don't necessarily think of how fibrous paper is. But when you sew on paper, all those little fibers go all over inside of your machine, and they're not really something that you visually can see unless maybe you get a magnifying glass or whatever. But your machine can see it, it feels it, it gums it up. And so you do need to clean out your machine fairly frequently if you're sewing on paper. Yeah, so those people who have been with me a while know that I'm not a quilter. I am not, like, I've never sewn clothing except for like pajama pants or something really basic, right? I'm not a big fabric sewing kind of person. I do like to sew on other things like paper, and I can make like aprons and Christmas tree skirts or whatever, but I'm not like a quilter where I am the preciseness of quilting drives me crazy. I can't do it. I like precise. I do. I try to live a very orderly life, and I try to keep things very orderly. You wouldn't know that looking behind me, but the preciseness of quilting, it would just absolutely drive me bonkers that I could not get things 100% perfectly straight all the time. So I cannot be a quilter, but maybe later, much later in life, but I'm finding my eyes are going, so probably never. I just cannot handle that degree of precision that is required for quilting. So yeah, I prefer to sew on paper, especially for junk journals, because it doesn't have to be precise. The less precise it is, the better look in some instances. So anyway, that's what's my sewing kind of spiel tonight. Oh my gosh. How many of you guys are quilters? How many of you guys love to sew on fabric? You're very experienced with fabric and you make your own clothes, you make your grandkids' clothes, you've made quilts. How many of you guys do the whole sewing shebang? I know lots of people collect sewing machines. Yes, they do. Because you have to have one for different purposes, right? Like, because otherwise you have to change your needles and your whole setup all the time. And so that's another reason why I don't want to sew on fabric all the time, because like you can't just have a sewing machine if you're going to make clothes. You might need a serger, you might need whatever, an embroidery one. So it's just a lot of things there. Historic costumes, Nicole, that sounds fun. Clothing, home decor, minimal quilt. Have been a quilter. Awesome. Awesome. That's great. That's great. So you guys love to play with fabric. You're gonna like tonight. Tonight we get to play with fabric in our journals or for our journals. My aunt used to hand quilt her quilts. She was a wonderful quilter. She's with us still, but she doesn't quilt anymore. But she used to make quilts, handmade quilts. When I was younger, I remember that. Not really, I don't think that anyone else in our family was a quilter, but my aunt was a quilter. I love them. I have many antique ones. I have always loved and appreciated the art of quilting, the art of quilts in general. Just not a hobby for me because I'm very OCD. And so if I can't make it perfect, I can't enjoy it. I just I can't do it. Wow, awesome. Well, lots of people have played with quilting and sewing in general. Love that. Right. And that's my whole thing, was a cheap machine for sewing on paper, because then if I only got, a year out of it or whatever, it wouldn't be heartbreaking to lose a super expensive machine. And I do use mine quite a bit for paper and also for the fabric stuff that goes with paper. Like I can sew the junk journal covers that are made out of fabric on there, and I can sew ruffles and things like that. I don't know what else, sewing around tags or whatever I decide to do, but the machine entry point of my machine, I think it was $199 when I got it, but I've got it several years ago. So now I think it's like $229, but you might be able to find it on sale different places. I know Joann's, which we can have a whole conversation about Joann's. If you know Joann's, the craft store, Joann's is like dead in the water closing. I know that there are lots of people who have a Joann's near them. Joann's filed bankruptcy last March, I believe. They filed bankruptcy just a couple of days ago, a week or two ago, in January of 2025 for the second time they filed bankruptcy. If you've ever been to a Joann's recently, you will notice that your Joann's probably looks like mine, where it looks like a tornado happened in there, and half of the store or more is empty. They are boxing up merchandise off the shelf left and right, because a lot of people have business experience and they will understand what I'm saying. But for those of you who don't, when a company like Joann's carries merchandise, specifically after they filed bankruptcy the first time, some of their vendors agreed to lend them product to ship them in advance of payment the product. And Joann's was supposed to pay these vendors after or as they sold the product. Well, now that they filed bankruptcy for the second time, a lot of those companies are requesting the merchandise be sent back to them because Joann's does not actually own that merchandise. So Joann's is getting ready to close. They are looking for a buyer. They are publicly stating they are looking for a buyer. They are trying to, by filing the bankruptcy the second time, restructure some of their debts to make it more appealing for a buyer to come in and purchase Joann's as a whole. In my opinion, I think it's a very risky move and I would never do it. So I think Joann's is probably very, very short for this world. Sad, because where I live, we have Hobby Lobby, Joann's, and Michael's. Michael's is, I think, next in line. Hobby Lobby, I think, will be around for a while. The reason why Hobby Lobby will be around for a while is twofold. One, because they were smart in the beginning and they do not carry the debt that the other craft stores carry. Two, whether you like it or not, Hobby Lobby sells a variety of merchandise. So they are not just a craft hobby store. They sell all that other home decor stuff. And more recently, they've been bringing in a lot of different kind of merchandise, which as a crafter, some of us were not very happy with. But you have to understand that a business needs to do what a business needs to do to survive. And so if that's what Hobby Lobby needs to do because the craft stuff is not selling well enough for them to keep those huge, beautiful stores open, then that's what they need to do. And I would rather them do that so that they can stay open than have no physical craft hobby stores at all, ever. So Joann's is going, Michael's is probably very, very near the next one to go, and Hobby Lobby, I think, will stay around for a while. That's what's in my area. You guys might have different stores in your area. But if you check out everything I just said, you can look it up online. You'll see what I'm talking about. Yeah. Well, if we go down that road, and I'm going to wrap this up here and put the camera down, we'll get started. But if we go down that road of talking about like what happens, why craft stores, the craft industry as a whole is really struggling right now. And the reason why it is struggling is imports. Um, we live in America, so I'm not going to get too like into the political part of it because I don't want to talk about that here. But what I will say is imports coming into the craft market specifically have just made it very difficult for any type of your local scrapbook stores or your small mom and pop shops like that, as far as small ones all the way up to Joann's. It has made it nearly impossible for them to stay open because they have to have so much overhead. Overhead is all those costs, like the rent for their buildings or the property upkeep or whatever kind of, structure they have for their actual physical buildings, their employees, their utilities, everything. Whereas the imports, they are flooding the market online. And every time we as crafters shop online for craft supplies, you are ensuring the demise of either your local mom and pop craft stores, hobby stores, even as big as Joann. We all do it because of convenience, right? We're all very busy people. But when you shop at those places, the one that starts with a T and ends with a U, when you shop with the places like that, even the one that I like to shop at that starts with an A and ends with a Zon, when you shop at places like that, you are not supporting the physical retail stores. And so, it is what it is. And that is why, though. So just, kind of keep that in mind as we shop. Um, you know, shopping has a lot of power. Where you shop has a lot of power. So just try to keep that in mind. If you have a local craft store, if you have a small, like mom and pop kind of a place, if you can, like, obviously nobody wants to pay more than they have to, but if you can, try to support those little mom and pop stores because they're toughing it out, and it is tough out there. As a person who owned a retail store for 25 years, it is tough, like a physical retail store. It is tough out there. And I did that a while ago. I couldn't imagine doing it today with the way that the internet has taken over shopping. So if you have one, support it, because if you don't support it, it won't be there. All right, enough of that kind of talk. I see everyone's all in here, all chatting. Hobby Lobby, I think because they have such a diverse variety of merchandise and they are not locked into just craft and hobby, I believe that is what is making them survive. But also, they have never taken on the debt. They do not run their company like the other companies were ran. They are much smarter. Much smarter. You can hate the company, you can hate the like politics behind it, but the way that that company was started and ran and structured, they were very, very smart in all of that. Very smart. Okay, I'm gonna turn the monitor, flip the camera down. We're gonna start talking about lacy, fabricy stuff, but I want to be able to see your chat. Plus, I need to put readers on. So let me go ahead and do that. Well, let me say hello and thank you to everyone who joined as I was, ranting about shopping and all of that kind of stuff. I was sad to see that Joann's is having such a hard time because there are certain things that it just makes more sense to shop, from Joann's. Fabric in general, like sometimes you need something, they're right down the street. It was very convenient. I did like their sales when they would have sales on things, but as a person who owned a store, when you file bankruptcy once and 6 months later you file it again, all those vendors aren't getting paid, and that kind of is a bad thing. So anyway, we're going to stop talking about that. What did I grab for today? Let's go over what I grabbed for today. This little basket right here, minus these two things. So I brought in these. This is a ball of like tatting, crochet, very fine. There's that fruit fly again. It just loves the lighting in here. It just, let me turn on this light too. It just loves the lighting in here because I've got like the studio lights, and so it is like daylight, and it just loves it in here. I did find where the fruit fly was coming from though. I did. There was a bag of clementine. Anyway, this is DMC. It's very fine, like crochet tatting kind of thread. And then this one is like a even finer, more fine. These are both, this one is vintage. I don't know. This one is not vintage, but I didn't buy either of these new, so I can't tell you any more information than what these labels say. But I like to sew things, my buttons specifically, on with these ones. This one for buttons, because it is thicker, I don't have to sew through the buttonholes to make it look like it's got thread in it quite as much because it's thicker. So that's what's in there, my little sewing threads. This is just a bin of scraps. I put some crinkled seam binding in here, but this is a bin of scraps. It's just got off little pieces here or there that I had cut from using, I don't know, making other projects, whatever. So this is a scrap bin. It's in one of my fabric strip bowls. So that's what I've used to keep little bits in on my desk. And then I just keep these little threads tucked in there. So that's what I grabbed for that. Then I have, this bin has that, like, it's not cheesecloth necessarily, but it's kind of like that. And then I have this bin that has all of these little tiny pieces of fabric in it. But then this is my scraps down here. So a whole bunch of scraps from different projects. I generally keep the scraps of the like ticking kind of cloth in this bin. So I grabbed some scraps, grab some of that. If you have any type of like French fabrics, French pattern fabrics, that's what I'm going to be using tonight. Here's some more little scraps that fell out of something. This is the cluster box that I showed you guys last week. So in the cluster box, I have different kinds of laces. I've got little sections for buttons, various little tiny pieces of lace and trim, and different colors, some little tatting I can cut off of, more little tiny pieces of fabric there, some cheesecloth, and then those French laundry numbers. I have a whole ton of those. Those are coming to you guys at live sales. And then that's kind of what I'm going to work from to build and finish off and decorate. I'm going to start with bigger items and then work through and grab some small little things. We can put rusty safety pins. You could, embellish how you want to embellish. We'll talk more about it as we do it. But I'm just going over supplies right now because maybe you want to grab some of these. I'm running out of room. And then I've got bags of these. These are little crochet pieces that I've cut from larger things. A lot of these are the little connectors and stuff like that. So I've got those. I showed you guys this last week too. This little bin is like an embellishment box for all my little flowers. These are little vintage applique flowers. You used to be able to find these. They have gotten quite a bit harder to find. I know some of them, they're reproducing them. Like China does make some of the little flowers, but not nearly the same quality and not nearly the same flowers that I have. So those are my little flowers. We've got ribbon embroidered little roses, all different kinds of little flowers, every different color. So that's what's in here. I keep them like that. That way, at least they're organized. So when I want one, I can find it. This bin came from Hobby Lobby. I love it because those little cups come out in there. So let me move this off to the side. Oops, sorry. Making a mess and being loud. Move that off to the side. Move my water over. And we're going to start playing with this box. That's got to go over there. My desk is always so crowded of stuff. I do have paper bits in here too, just because sometimes I like to mix the fabric stuff with the paper stuff. So I'm primarily going to start in this scrap bin and grab my larger pieces, and then from there we'll see where we end up. Oh, I didn't show you this either. This bin, this is also scraps. I have like a million bins of scraps, just a million bins that have like cheesecloth and cut off pieces of lace and fabric. So I do have other scrap bins that I'll pull from. So if you have any of these things, grab them and let's play with them tonight. Oh my gosh, those crochet pieces are in Etsy, guys. I do bring them to the live sales occasionally, but those crochet pieces are in Etsy. Let's do, I see that I have other fabric bits right here. I have these fabric bits. I have these fabric bits. And I found another fabric bit pack. Let me open this one up. This one is called Cascade by Three Sisters. So these are charm packs. They're 5 inches, 5-inch square. This one I must have gotten recently and put in here because I didn't even know it was in here. But how perfect are these blue colors for this journal that I'm going to be working on, or these journals that we're all going to be working on. The journal kit of the month for February is French Blue. And so this little pack was hiding in here. I did not even know I had it. So let's play with that. That's a good way to start. And then I found another little pack. Some of the little Moda fabric packs, they're 2-inch, like 2.5-inch square, and they have tiny little prints and patterns on them too. So I found quite a bit of little extra stuff right there. All right, let's see what else is in here. What else should we play with? Ooh, here's some more. Another little tiny pack of all different kinds of tiny little prints. Ooh, look at those browns. Those are good. See, I didn't know those were in here. I'm losing all my things. So another thing that you guys could grab, or if you want to work on this tonight and this only maybe, you guys can take fabric and stamp on it. These little bits right here are pieces of fabric that I stamped on. So we'll definitely pull those and play with those. I was going to bring the stamps in here and I was like, no, they don't want to sit here and watch you just stamp on fabric. So let's pull some of those. Those will be fun. See, I'm just digging right here in this one corner of my bin. And there's just stuff after stuff after stuff. Like this is fun. All kinds of fun things. So grab your scraps. Grab your bins of junk. Junk little fabric bits. Can I fit this next to me? Possibly. I'm trying to make it today where I can sit down and play. Yay, Maria. I'm so happy that you guys like it. So many of you guys have your kit now. You got it in the last couple days. And you've been posting and you've been messaging me. I got pictures in an email. You're loving the kit. And I love the kit too. And on the note of the kit, unless I make more, they're sold right now. However, some people did not pay their invoice yet. So I might have some kits become available because we had a lot of new people. And sometimes for one reason or another, you know, a kit might not get paid for. So if that happens, I will have a couple left. Otherwise, I would have to make more, and I don't know if I'm going to have time to make more. So I can start a wait list for people who want kits. We can talk about that again on Tuesday too. But for right now, all the kits that I've made, and I made more kits this month, this time, than I've ever made before, and all of them have been sold. So the journal is blue. You don't have to buy the kit. We make the journal every Friday throughout the month of February. We start from scratch. We make the whole cover. We make the signature. We sew everything in. We decorate it. We make all the ephemera. We make a whole fully finished journal every month. And so the kit comes out on the 15th of the previous month. I sell it on the 15th roughly. It's a Tuesday night live sale thing. So I sell it some kind of Tuesday around the 15th. We ship the kit, you get the kit, you can make the kit the way that I'm making the journal from the kit. You can make a completely different journal. You don't have to have the kit to come to the Friday night craft with me. So you can just come and use supplies you already have and make a journal that's similar to ours, or, you know, even completely different. It doesn't matter. This is a junk journal class that we do work through the kit every month. So in February, we will begin making that journal the first Friday night of February. All right, let's do this. Okay, if you want to be on the wait list for the kit, I'm going to pop my email into my email's going to go on the screen. I'm going to pop it in because you won't be able to see it on the screen. Let me put my email in quickly right here. There's my email. If you want to be on the wait list, send me an email because I can't write down names right this second, and I'll probably miss you in chat. So if you want to be on the kit wait list, send me an email. If you're interested in like what is in the kit, what the cost of the kit is, look at the Tuesday night live sale video from not Tuesday this week, but Tuesday last week. And you'll see me show you the whole kit and talk to you guys about it and give the price and all that kind of stuff. So it's not the video from Tuesday this week, it's the video from Tuesday last week, and it's probably about 45 minutes or so into the video. It's the second thing that I sell that Tuesday. The kit is a physical junk journal kit that includes the fabric and stuff to make the actual journal. It does not have a digital kit attached to it. That way you are free to pick one that you like, that is your style. Okay, as we get started with fabric, I'm going to start out by building from largest piece to smallest piece. And I'm going to be making some fabric flips tonight. I'm going to be making some small clusters that I can embellish some pages with, a variety of different kinds of things. And the first thing I want to play with these fabrics. I just found them with you guys. So let's get out those blue fabrics and we'll start there. And then as I go, I'll tell you the formulas that I'm using to build things. However, I will say that you need to make things that look good to you. You need to make things in your style. So everybody has a different style. Everybody likes a different aesthetic. I obviously like vintage and antique, but that doesn't mean that you guys are going to like the same thing. So you do you. Just because I'm showing you how I'm doing it doesn't mean there's a right or a wrong way, or you have to do it like me. Do it exactly however you want to do it. I'm just sharing with you what works for me. Okay, so let me get this off the screen. There we go. Back to comments. And if you guys have questions for me, or you want to say something specifically to me, if you guys use all caps, that will help me see it. So hopefully I will answer your question or whatever I need to do there. Just use all caps for things to me, and hopefully I see it. And if you guys see something that I did not address or answer, if you guys could call it out so that I could catch it, that would be helpful too. Or if you guys know the answer, you could answer, but let's work with this one. This one is about the perfect shade of blue. Can I reach one of those letters? Let me see if I can. So these are the letters that inspired the kit. These little French folded letters. So I have a variety of them, and as you can tell, they themselves come in a variety like of shades of blue. But I'm going for that very Frenchy antique blue. Like this one is spot on. So that's the inspiration for the kit. And so let's work with that fabric. All right. So I found a fabric I want to play with. And again, what did I say this was called? I threw away the paper. But whatever I said it was called, it was a Moda fabric pack from Three Sisters, and it was called something. If you rewind the video a few minutes ago, I showed you it. Okay, so that's where that fabric came from. Let's start out by making a little, I mean, I could easily turn this into a fabric flip. We could also make fabric pockets and things like that. It is about clusters today. So let me go ahead and start by making this smaller so I can build a cluster off of it. Because it's going to be a cluster, I may want to choose a different one so that I can preserve this one and use it whole. Let's see about let's use this guy. I'm going to save him. We'll see him in a few minutes. I don't want to cut him up. He's too beautiful. So the first thing I'm going to do is start by making this fabric smaller. And so if you use like charm pack fabrics, the charm is a 5x5. There's also a layer cake, which is a 10x10. There's a jelly roll, which is like a 2 or 2.5 inch strip by, I don't know, 40 inches or something like that. So there's little variety packs of fabric that you can get at your local quilting store. So you saw me just snip a little snip right here for those people who do not know how you tear fabric. Not all fabrics tear, first of all, but how you tear fabric is you take your scissors and cut a straight little, just a little nip right there, and then you can pull and tear it from there. I do like the torn edge wherever I can get it. You can see I have some peaked edges going there. That's okay. I'm not going to worry about it. So there's that. Now we could build a long cluster that kind of trails down, or we could just make this a little shorter. I want to make little page embellishments, so I am going to make mine a little bit shorter. And then it's a good thing to talk about scissors too, because if you do work with fabric a lot, having a dedicated pair of scissors that is specifically just for fabric will help you out quite a bit. These are just my general crafting scissors, and I'm not cutting a length of fabric or something like that today, but having a pair of scissors that you only use for lace, for fabric, that's ideal. When you cut paper, it's actually dulling the blades of your scissor. And so if you use paper scissors on fabric, it's going to cut, but it's going to cut a lot harder than if you keep that dedicated pair of fabric scissors. And if you ever have fabric scissors that you've dedicated to fabric, don't just think, oh, I'm just going to cut this one little cut of paper, because you can ruin your fabric scissors that way. Okay, so I made 2 little pieces and a long one. We could play with all 3 of those actually. So I've got them out here on the desk. Susan, I can talk about that maybe later on. But thank you for asking. You guys know that some people like me talking about it, some people don't. So I will save that for the very end. And if you want on the waiting list, you need to send an email. Otherwise, I'm just not going to be able to keep track of who wants on the wait list without an email. Plus, that's what I need to actually send your invoice and all that kind of stuff. So we have these. From here, I'm going to use fabric, like some kind of patterned fabric in the back. And then I'm going to add a lace over the top, because I do want to see some of my fabric. So from there, I'm going to start with a lace. And so I've got that little box over there. I could cut some lace from some scraps. You could do it a million different ways. I'm just going to try to find some kind of lace. And I'm not sure exactly what I want yet, so we're going to have to just play around. This was a piece of a curtain that I cut up. And that is the like shore bond stuff that made a hem at the bottom. I don't need the shore bond stuff. We can pull that out. But here's a little scrappy piece of lace that may or may not be good enough. So you can see my piece of fabric is a square pretty much. Whenever I layer things on it, I'm not making them completely square. I'm just kind of cornering it, making it kind of diagonal off to the side. You do you. I just like to build mine where they're a little different, where everything isn't perfectly layered up. So I do want this one first. I might put a little bit of eyelet. It covers up quite a bit and it's very fresh and white looking. We'll see. That's not bad. So that one might be okay there. We need a layer on this guy. And I'm curious. That might be a little too grungy. I don't know about that. Let's do this one. For him, how about this little lace? This is like a little piece of a netted tablecloth, a lacy tablecloth. Can kind of put that in the background. And then from there, see how I keep this little box and just tuck it back in there? From there, maybe this one. I don't know if I want eyelet on all of them. See, that's just a little bit too big for me. Digging this one, I might actually go back over the top right there with that. That's getting pretty good there. How about we do, so we need a little bit of a lighter lace. I might go in with this one over here. Don't know if you guys can see everything. I'm hoping that you guys can. Here's a little piece of a lighter kind of ivory color lace. And so this is what I've got so far. I'm going to put that one over the top. And then I think this one can go on there. This is the right way up. And that one's going to go on there. So you can just see that hint of that blue and, you know, floral pattern fabric back there. That's okay. I like it. I could go in and trim some here or there to make it exposed more. I like both of those. Let's work on this long one. The long one, I might have to get a piece of lace out of the bin, out of some bin somewhere. This is pretty long and it's about the right length. Let's cut a strip of it. And when I'm cutting stuff for these clusters, I don't want it to be straight. I want it deliberately to be just random, where it is not straight in the slightest. Maybe eventually. What else do we have? We have this. Let's have a piece of that. So I'm just layering up onto this larger one here. Just layering so far. Let's see what else is in here. I do have a piece of, I don't really think I want that on this one. Let's see what else is in here. It looks like I got a piece of a lace collar, some Battenberg lace collar. I could have a piece of that. I have an applique in here. You could cut up appliques and use it. I need something with a little bit of color. This is super cute. It's a little big. I don't know that I want to go that big. I'm digging. Okay. I don't really see anything else in this bin. There's that one. I could have a couple of these going across the top eventually. Let's think about that. I'll cut them, and if we don't use them there, maybe we will put them on like this cluster or something. We'll see. So you're just layering, whatever looks good to your eye, working in different color tones. So anytime you bring in this more kind of a tea dye looking color, I don't know if you guys can see that it's a little tea dye, but this is a white applique. And so this one is just ever so slightly darker than that white. But anytime you're building your cluster, try to think about using different color tones of lace. I know lots of lace just comes white, but if you can mix in some warmer tone, I think it kind of vintages, I don't know, vintages up your little cluster in general. So it kind of just helps give that vintage illusion. And this fabric does have more of a natural colored background. So right now I'm lining everything up at the top on this one. I'm just letting it hang out. And if something is a little too long for my liking, you know, I'm just going to trim it because this is just another piece that I can use and play with later. So there's that. Right now I've just got that little lace in the fabric on there. The little lace doesn't cover the whole piece of fabric back there. And I've got this. This one just got a lot shorter. I'm going to do it over here. And that's good. Okay. So now we've done all of we've done fabric in the back. We've done lacy bits on the top. So we're creating that ruffle look, right? Our base is fabric. And then we've layered up different textures, different colors of lace, different patterns of lace, because some are more open and some are more closed in, close together. Vintageify. Vintage-fy. I'm not sure. Hello, Luann. Hello, everyone. Okay, so that's what we've got so far. From there, the thing that I like to do is to start looking at a thicker texture. So I'm going to open this bag up. I'll slide that back there for a minute. We're not done with it, but I'm going to open this bag up. And we're going to start by looking through this bag and seeing what we can find. I have small pieces like this, and these are little connectors. This is where, so the little doily packs that are in Etsy, they're all from like the 30s, 40s, and 50s. And I have large pieces that I cut up and cut the little small pieces out of, the little decorative elements. Things that look like this, right? This is the circle part is the decorative element, and this is the connector. These little connectors are super cute to use in clusters. They're some of my favorite. Another way to use these is just to put a brad through that hole and then put it into a journal that way, or a tag or whatever. But one of those could easily sit, you know, on the top of our little cluster there. And of course, we're not done yet, but we've got quite a few little layers going. There's a lot of interest. I like this very wispy open lace that basically is nothing back there in the back. It looks pretty good. I might do a little bit of trimming, but it looks pretty good. That one might stay there. It kind of just fell out, so we'll use it. I've got this little guy here that I could put on that one. So you could see I started with a square. So the base of my cluster, you know, it's still a square. Now, because I'm going to put it in a junk journal, I want to make sure that I'm not making it too fluffy. If you make it too fluffy, you could still put it in a journal, but it is going to bulk it up. So you would have to consider where you were going to use this in a journal. That's okay there. It's not terrible. What else do I have in this one? I'm looking for something to warm this one up, and we might actually need to use one of these to warm it up. And so it doesn't look like I have any cut out. We're just going to cut it out. So right there, I got a connector piece. I don't know if you guys could see, but I cut that. And then we're going to cut this. And so when you cut up these, because they're, you know, they're crocheted a long time ago, they've been washed a lot of times, it doesn't immediately unravel. Now, if you were going to sew these on fabric or whatever, and like a pair of jeans or something, you would need to sew and tack this all the way down so it wouldn't continue to unravel. But that one's a little too big. I might have to cut it in half and just use half of it up there. Or I can keep looking and see what else we have in this bin. There are some smaller little bits. I just don't want it too thick, you know, and some of these larger crochet pieces get a little thick. Digging in the bin. I say bin, but it's really a Ziploc. I have some white ones. Sometimes you need to copy dye some things too, so keep that in mind. If you don't have the tones that you want, you're only, you know, a tea or a coffee dye away from finding the tone that you want. Now this, you know, this is obviously considerably lighter than these two, but it might work up there. I kind of think it does. So from there, we have some bases of some clusters done. I couldn't tell if that was something that fell out of the bag or if that was part of the lace. Well, there's that. We've got those. Now we don't, I mean, we're starting to get a focal point, but we don't necessarily have a focal point yet. That's where like buttons come in handy. They add you that finishing touch. And I can't really see my buttons from where I am, but I'll try. So here's a button. It's an old button. It's a glass one, like a milk glass one. And it already has thread in it. So I could glue this one down without hand sewing it onto one of these clusters if you wanted to. I kind of like it on that one. I don't always cover up the center of the little, you know, you can see there's holes in all of them. I don't always. Sometimes I like the look of the hole. But I do like the way that this one's coming out. The button just moved, but I do like the way it's coming out. I think we could have something else dark in this one. It's just missing that, I don't know, that color. It needs something a little more vintage in it. So this is some coffee dyed cheesecloth. And when I use the cheesecloth, I do try to rough up the edges a little bit just to keep it, I don't know, make it look a little less new and fresh. And I usually do this for my lace and my fabric too. Just try to make the edges a little more raggedy because I just cut it, but we'll just make it a little more raggedy. And let's work this one into our layer. We may even take something out. I might work it back in there. Probably needs to be a little shorter. And then we'll put this white lace back over it. So I'm alternating some light and some dark. I kind of liked that one up there. Then I went light again. This one is just a little too long for me, so I'm going to snip off a little bit and we'll do that one. I'm trying to keep them face up, but if something doesn't end up face up in the end, it's not going to matter. And so we've got this now. And you can see I just added this darker color back there. I like it. I think it's good. Do a little rearranging. That's pretty good. Kind of having the same issue with this piece is almost the same length as that piece. So I'm just going to snip some off. And when I snip this, I'm actually cutting it at an angle so that I can get a little rough edge there. Rough it up again. Put it back on. So you're layering, you're putting different textures, you're putting different colors. And again, anytime you add that coffee dye, that tea dye, it really does make it look more vintage. And so I don't like the square edge of this one. No big deal. I can take my scissors, and as I'm taking my scissors, I'm not cutting. I'm pulling the lace through the scissor, and that kind of gives me that rough edge. So I'm just pulling it, 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 and it just gave me that little rough kind of edge right there. Make that a little rougher and put that down. So just play with your things until you're happy with it. I don't even know that we need this one. We might just forgo it. Let's see how it looks with it and without. I'm hoping that I'm zoomed in enough and you guys can see everything. I guess we're going to leave it, but I think this one is good. I don't like this edge up here. I left it kind of off because I knew that I wanted to do a little trim, a little haircut. And again, I kind of tried to cut it as rough as I could so it wasn't exact. But this guy, he could very easily be done like this. And then he would get glued to like the top corner of, I usually have a coffee dye journal page in here. Hang on a second. No, I do not. I usually have a journal page in here. Let me grab one. So somewhere I have a journal page. We'll have to pretend this is a journal page. You'll have to pretend this is a journal page. It will be a journal page if I fold it in half. There we go. So there's our mock journal page. So the way that I would use the long one is up here in the corner and just kind of let it hang down. It would just be a way of decorating, you know, the corner. It is kind of straight. I would prefer if it wasn't straight, but I could live with that. And again, I made this one, you know, in a tone of a journal that I will be working in. This one here, he could decorate a pocket, he could decorate a tag, he could just go down in the bottom corner of a page that you just needed a little more detail to. And when I put these ones on a page, I am going to have them hang out. Probably that one too, if it looks good too. But I like the little bits hanging over the page. So that's good, but he might need a button as well. Then again, sometimes I don't like them with buttons. So, you know, you'll have to just grab out some buttons and audition it. These little buttons have been in this thing for a long time, and I probably used all my favorites out of here. We could do that one there. Here's a little tiny milk glass one with thread in it. I need a warmer one there. So warmer color tone. Maybe that one doesn't need a button. We'll see. There's this guy. Maybe. You just gotta play with your things until your eyes say, okay, that's the one. I think I might go there. That one or that one. I have a big bin of them. I just can't put my head over the bin to see them. Okay, so let's keep working on these and finish these ones off, and we'll start a new row. A hat pin would be beautiful there. Hat pin, stick pin, those little buttons I've showed you guys with all the rhinestones on them, like these little guys. They come from Hobby Lobby. But yeah, you could definitely put one of those on there and bling it out. So just because we've worked with lace and whatever, you could add bead dangles hanging out of your lace. You could do a million other more things. But for today, I'm just focusing on making the little, you know, the little fabric-y parts. I do want to play with some tatting. So I think we're going to have to make some more with some tatting, or I can use tatting like a little piece of it. So this is a long row of tatting that I've wrapped up here. And as I work in it, I just cut off little sections. And the tatting, I do try to snip the connecting threads. It doesn't always work out that way, but I try. So let's go across here and cut the connectors. You could use little, you know, embroidery scissors or something like that if you want to get a little bit more technical. But I just got this little open piece. I like the shape of it. And I was wondering, not on that one. I definitely like this way better. I mean, I could add it in here. It does add some texture and some interest. It's cute. We also need some rusty safety pins, and I think I would probably like that better than maybe using all buttons. So let me grab some rusty safety pins. And sometimes you don't want to put the buttons on. Sometimes you just want to make the cluster and leave it. You know, we're just going to make it and leave it without that little last bit. Because sometimes as you work in a journal, like specifically if you're making these clusters ahead of time, you might not know what you want to put there until you're actually gluing it in a journal. For instance, you might have a little label or a little tag or some kind of little image or picture on paper that you want to put there. sometimes you want to put a specific color of bead or something, you can just take your regular beads and sew your beads into the center of them. So there's a million things you could do, but sometimes it's better to leave them without buttons, and then you'll know later if you want a button or not. I've grabbed some of you guys have these, a lot of you guys have these from me. These are Rusty Bits packs. They have clips and a million different paper clip sizes, the bulldog clips, jingle bells that actually jingle, stuff to make notepads and things. But also in this pack are butterfly clips and safety pins. So safety pins are what I'm after. Let me get a little dish. Dropped it. A little dish, and we will put these in it. Now, when you get the rusty stuff, you also get the rust. So I do like to keep them in something. Like you'll see the little rust powder. You get rust when you got rusty things. So I've got them in a little thing now. At least I can find a safety pin in here. So here's a small little safety pin. I'm looking for a larger safety pin. I know there are some. Here's a little garment pin. Here's a little garment pin. There's a bigger safety pin. And I think there are still one size larger, but for now, let's play with those. For the tatting, every time I use tatting, it really makes me think of just putting a safety pin in it. And I don't know why. It's just kind of my favorite way of doing it. So I think we might just put a rusty safety pin in this tatting right here. Maybe. It's a little too perfect for me, and I think what is doing it is this piece. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make it a little less perfect. And like I said, I'm just kind of pulling my fabric through my scissor blade. And these are just my general crafty scissors. I don't know if you'd want to do that with your good fabric scissors, but I'm clipping the fabric right here in my scissor, and I'm just pulling that fabric through, and it is just tattering up the edge and making it less new looking and less perfect, more stringy and frayed and all of that goodness, right? So I'm just going to keep doing that a little bit more until I've got it. This is a good way to put a hole in a piece of fabric too. Like if you wanted to put a natural little, some fabric wore through, fold your fabric in half, put it in there, and just kind of pull it through that part of your scissors, and you will end up with the naturalist looking hole ever that has all the little fibers and stuff like that loose in it. So see my hole there? I don't know if you guys can see it. But anyway, my fabric looks a lot less new now. I might be happier with it that way. And of course, I'm being fussy. You don't need to be this fussy, and I shouldn't be this fussy whenever you guys are all waiting. So I've made it a little less perfect looking. I think that makes me more happy, and I am going to put this little rusty safety pin in. Before I put my rusty safety pin in, because I don't, this is a pretty small pin, I don't want to have to pin it through every layer to keep this cluster together. So I'm going to go ahead and use some Fabri-Tac. Fabri-Tac, this is the end of a bottle of Fabri-Tac, and you guys know how Fabri-Tac behaves when you're near the end of the bottle. So we're going to see what we get with it. But I do want to tack down my layers very, very lightly with Fabri-Tac. So I took the whole cluster in my hand. It's basically assembled. Some things have moved. I don't really care. I'm going to start with this base layer, and I'm just going to rub some Fabri-Tac in here. I'm not putting a whole lot. I'm literally just rubbing what comes out of the nozzle on it. And then I'm putting the rest of my cluster back on. And because my lace back here is very, very flimsy, I don't really need to put too much back here. Again, I'm just getting that bead that came out of the nozzle of the Fabri-Tac. So I want the fabric layers to still stay fluffy. I don't want them glued completely, down to each other. So I'm just kind of working my way through, adding some glue every now and then, keeping my glue not directly in the center because I do, want to keep it a little less bulky there, but just adding a little bit of glue here or there and pushing things back together. And so we're now to this part. I'm just going to wipe off the nozzle of my glue in there. And he's going in. And I could have just left it like that too. I really didn't need the tatting, but we're going to do the tatting. And with the tatting, I don't want to glue it. There really isn't a way to glue. I mean, you can try, but there really isn't a way to glue that tatting perfectly. So I'm just going to keep the tatting loose, and I'm going to take this little safety pin. And when you rust this stuff, you know, sometimes it weakens the metal. I don't think it's a big deal. And I'm just going to go through and kind of pin a couple little sections there and try to get it to go through. Try. I need to catch that bottom layer and have it come back through. I think we're attached there. So I'm going to clip it and check it out. The last thing I want is my little tatting to fall off. Tatting is so valuable. It's like gold now. I'm working where I can't put it directly underneath my face. I have to work like, I don't know, a good 14, 16 inches away from my face for the camera. Okay, so we've got tatting in there. We've got a safety pin. My safety pin really needed to be in a different place, but that's where it's at for now. I guess it can go like that. Rearrange my tatting a little bit. And that's our little cluster. This side of the safety pin is more rusty. This side is not as rusty. You could fix that with some alcohol ink or a crayon or whatever, but I'm going to leave it be. I could have sewn a button. I still could sew a button in there and have that little safety pin be in there with the button, and I might do that. I kind of like the look of it. But you can see we didn't really end up seeing too much of that blue fabric, just hints back there. But when you put it in your book, people are going to touch the layers and feel it, and you know, they'll know that there's blue fabric back there. So I probably would put a button. I don't know. We'll leave that one for now. My glue is oozing everywhere, so let's go ahead and build one of these other ones. I am going to sew a button in this guy. And so we're going to start back here with the fabric, and I've got glue everywhere. So at this point, I'm just smearing some glue on there and layering back up the stuff. Going to my next layer, wipe back off my glue. I should have grabbed a new bottle of Fabri-Tac. I knew I was playing with fabric today. So who's playing along with me? Who's making some clusters today? Who's got their supplies out and are playing along with me? We're pretty good there. I did squeeze out a good section of glue there, and it's because this guy needs glued on. Okay, so there's that little guy. We've done it. A couple people are. Awesome. Awesome. Okay. And then we've got our button. And I wasn't sure if I was doing this guy. I think he's a little too yellow. Honestly, both of these are just a little bit too yellow. I might have a dig. We've got these black ones. I wouldn't really keep that yellow thread in there, but they are vintage black buttons. Let's see about removing that thread. And do I like it with this little button? Sometimes I like the back sides of buttons better. It's not bad. I kind of do like it. Maybe I'll leave it face up. Let's leave that one for a second, and let's get this guy glued, mostly because my glue is oozing everywhere. So for this one, I don't want to glue any of these long things because I want them to stay there. And when somebody gets this in a journal, they might decide they want to snip some of this off and play with it in their journal, create another cluster, whatever. So for this one, normally I would just run it through the sewing machine. But for today, we're just going to glue this across the top. And so I'm going to start up here. Because I have cheesecloth, you don't need to glue underneath cheesecloth. The glue that you put on up here at the top is going to seep through that cheesecloth no matter what anyway. So I'm just going to press these together up there at the top, and that pretty much went through everything. I'm going to add one more little bit of glue right up here. I apologize for my glue bottle. And then I'm going to add a couple little tacks to this crochet doily. It's not super thick, but I just want to tack it at the top a little bit. And there we go. So this one is all tacked down. It's not going to go anywhere. Glue. Goodness, glue. The end of the bottle of Fabri-Tac is not my favorite. Let me get a sip of water. How are you guys doing? Yay, Wendy's making it. Ria's making it. Maria's making it. Claudia's making it. Yay. When I say I'm drinking vitamin water, I'm drinking a liquid IV mixed in a bottle of water. Because I drink coffee now, I get super dehydrated and I need to drink extra water. So I'm just looking at this little bin right here and I'm trying to think, do we want to mix in? So I really like this one. This one is good. I might add the button, but do we want to mix in some other, I don't know, we could mix in that. It's going in a French journal. I could have some French little laundry number ribbon going through there. Maybe then I'll like the black button the rest of the way. That's actually not bad. That's okay. It could go there. Alternatively, we have hat number ribbon. You know I'm going to play with this today at some point. We have hat number ribbon, and maybe you just need a little, I think we might need that. Maybe you just need a little number. And so, for those of you who are fairly new to me, all of this stuff, everything you guys see me playing with, I sell on my channel on Tuesdays. Because I know you guys will probably ask, where did I get it? So I could just do that. And I think I'm going to do that. But honestly, doesn't it need a little safety pin holding it on there? I think it does. I don't want to do garment pin. And I don't want to do giant safety pin. I need another small safety pin. So let me grab that. And we're going to pin that hat number thing on there. Those are numbers that determined or notified people when they were shopping for hats what size the hat was. And so if you don't know, because as women we don't necessarily wear hats that way, the hats come in numbers like this, and there's usually that little ribbon. They would use 2 of them, and they'd fold it over and they would sew it into the band of the hat, and all you would see is just this little number sticking out, and it would have the number on either side. So that's the way they were used. All of this stuff came from France there. I grabbed a bigger one. No, I didn't. I grabbed this one. Let's clip this one on here. So I really just want the corner of this little number because I kind of want it just dangling off. So I think that's what we're going to do. And I'm just going to go in this somewhere where it lets me go in. And I'm going to try to get 2 little pieces of crochet. It's not wanting to go. There it is. 2 little pieces of crochet to tack that down in there. And let's see how that one looks. It's okay. It's okay. So there's that guy. Now, if I didn't like this peaked, whatever you want to call it, edge, I do really like the fray one better. I could go in and trim, but I'm not going to stress about it any more than I just did right there. We've got this guy left. I've used safety pins in all of these, and I really do like using safety pins, as you guys can tell. But we have this guy sitting here. Some of these numbers do go horizontally. I don't know if I have any of them in the tray, but some do. So I think if I'm going to use this little number, I'm definitely going to have to safety pin that too. And I don't want to like safety pin everything. So let's just knot on this tall one. Let's save these for later. And let's go ahead and do our button like we were going to do there. Now it already has the thread in it. This is old thread of where it came off of somebody's garment, and I have this oozing glue right here. So I'm just going to smear glue all over that and add some more, and I'm going to stick this down. You can see I did use quite a bit there, and I'm just going to plop that down. If it didn't have thread in it, I probably would have sewn thread into my button. And you just got to put it there for a minute. I do like to get the glue out of the holes. I don't want glue oozing up through there. So I just press my finger in there and it kind of pulls out the glue. And so there's that one. Just kind of plain, but it's also kind of nice. I like it. And when I put it in a journal, I might just glue it right here across the top so that that's the only thing that's glued down to the page, and then the person can flip through or whatever. So there's 3 little ones. Obviously, I took a lot longer to make them with you guys than I normally would have just making them on my own. We can sew this button on quick. You can also make little bows in your button thread. So you could sew your string through it or just put it through it. Where did my needle go? Dang it. I have lost my needle. No, I didn't. It's right here. That's how bad my eyesight is getting. So if you don't want to use a needle to put thread through a button, if you have a thick enough thread, like this guy's pretty good, you could just take your thread and you're going to put it through the button and then tie a little bow, just like when you tie your shoes on the front of it. We could try that. We've got the little tatting there, so maybe it would look good. Now this button does have 4 holes. I usually only put the bow when I've got 2 holes, but we're going to do it. So I'm going to just cut a piece of string. Let's see. Yes, it will go through. Okay, let's cut a piece of string. I mean, crochet floss, whatever this is. And let's go ahead, not using the needle. I want to put my needle somewhere so I don't lose it again. And we're going to put this through from behind in one of the holes, assuming I can do it. Yes, okay. So we've got that one through there. Pull it out a little bit. Take your other tail, put it through the opposing hole, so the opposite side, like that. You could sew some through and then finish it with a bow. Absolutely. Got it like that. You could just leave some string hanging out. You can make yourself a little flower. So then I'm just tying my shoes, right? So I'm just making a crossover, tying my shoes, making the loops. If you do the whole bunny through the thing, I've never done that, so I don't know how it goes, but I've made a little bow there, and now I'm just going to tighten that little bow up as much as I can. Tighten, 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 tighten. And then you'll have to make it tight again and play with it. Something like that. You make yourself a cute little bow. That's kind of a big looped bow. You could tighten it again. It's just a little decorative element, right? So we've made a little bow there. Fix your strings, and then we can glue him on, or I could have sewn him on. I still could sew him on. But so when it's got the little bow in it, because we have tatting, I don't know if you guys can see the little bow, but there's a little bow there. So I'm going to go ahead and glue this one. We've already done the little bow, just fixing my tails and my loops. Because once I put glue, it's not really gonna let me move it much. So we've got a pretty good bow there. And I don't care if this is the right side or the wrong side of the button. I use the side that I like. Put quite a bit of glue on that one. And I'm gonna tuck it where it's kind of up against the safety pin. Watch in there. Can you guys see the little bow? I don't know if you can. This lighting in here is just kind of difficult. So there's a little bow there. And we've created a little collage with a whole bunch of different things. So those are those. Hoarding your hat labels. You can use them so many different ways. So just sew them on like to the edge of a page. just the way I told you they go in hat bands, they can be cute little tabs at the top of journal cards to pull them out of pockets. They could be little tabs on the side of a page. I've even done them like this, like a loop like this, and put a pen through them. So it's like a little pen holder on the side of your page. So do I have a thin enough pen or pencil? Like just, you've sewn this onto the edge of a page. Pretend it was like, I've cut that one very close. Let's see if I can make it work with this one. So pretend that you put it on the edge of a page where your number is sticking out. So your page is here where my hand is. Your little tab is sticking out. It's a little pen holder. It does work better if your pen has a cap with a cap with the little pocket thing on it, because it'll catch the little tab, but it'll be a little pen holder in your journal. So yes, you can use these. Okay, here's one. So this one has a little pocket holder thing. So see how it catches your pen and it'll just hold your pen in your journal? Yeah, any kind of little ribbon will do this. It doesn't have to be this one. But you could use it millions of different ways. I don't know about millions, but a lot of different ways. Let's move those and let's start over. Where am I going to put these to dry? Because we glued, they got to go somewhere where they can dry. Okay, let's do some that are not blue. And maybe we will do one where we don't have fabric underneath, because it doesn't have to have fabric underneath. We could just layer up a whole bunch of lacy pieces. Or we could do a fabric flip too. I'm going to save this for a fabric flip because it's about the right size. So let's do one where we're just working with lacy stuff. I need something darker back here. I really like the mix of light and dark. And this gold lace really does, since it's a vintage gold color, it really does look more like a coffee dye or something. Sometimes you want the ruffle coming off the side like that. I really just like this piece and I don't want to cover it up. So let's keep playing. So here's a different little one that I made a long time ago. So it could just be something very simple. This was the smallest piece of just scrap lace. And I just layered up some little things, like things you would normally throw away, and pinned them to one of those doily things. So that one's already done. But let's do this one. This is kind of interesting. Maybe I could do that going up there at an angle. I don't know if you guys can see, because I should have moved this because it's kind of white stuff on white and it's probably very hard to see. Let me slide this out real quick so that maybe it's a little easier to see. I'm going to try that anyway, and I'll probably make a huge mess, but I think for the camera, it's white on white and it's very hard for me to see it when I look at the camera or on the screen. So let's move this. Okay, we did it. Yeah, we did. Maybe this will be a little bit better. You guys let me know. I mean, I'm not going to put it back at this point, but you guys let me know. We'll work like this for a little bit. Okay. I have these little things too. I don't know if we need any of them right here, but the little bird would have been cute. Anyway, let's keep working with this one. I'll move my rusty junk. I know we need some crochet on that guy, and we might just be ready for crochet now. I keep trying to move this piece of lace in, but maybe we just need like the smallest little bit up there. Let's look at crochet things now. I think this bag is primarily like teeny tiny little things. And this one is larger things. So let's look at the teeny tiny little things. The teeny tiny little things, they have my favorite ones ever in it. Right down here. These are my most favorite little tiny ones ever. And it's because they actually make a little cupped flower. If you poke your finger in there, they make a little cupped flower. And I really like using those. So we could have that little cupped flower up there at the top. And this is just so simple. Again, my light. I don't know where to shade the light from, but let me see about turning down some of the brightness too from my lights, because I can change the brightness on my lights and that might help us some. So let's move that down. I think it will. Yes. Cool. So that helped a little bit. So just layer up little bits, but you got to have texture and you got to have different color. I mean, in my opinion. I say you gotta, but it's just really how it looks good to you. Whatever looks good to me might not look good to you. I don't know. So here's like a little star looking thing. Maybe we want the star up there. All of these look good. I don't know how I will choose. Maybe I will layer both of them. That actually does look pretty good. I do like that darker one in there. I'm going to tuck it just down just a little bit so I can see more of it. And I'm going to make this one just like this. But before I do, I want to rough up the edge. This was a fresh cut piece, so let's rough up the edge with my scissors. I'm going to quote, see how many little bits are in here though? Like, it's a whole lot of little bits in there. You're going to get all of those little bits if you start cutting up your doily thingies. So this one, I got to munch the edge right there a little bit, just kind of chewing it. And now I can get it in and pull it up here at the fabricy part. You hear it? Just pulling it and roughing it up. And I was doing good, and then I snipped it off. There we go. And let's work on this side. You could wash all your pieces too, and I've said this before a couple of times, but if you wash your brand new lace, you know, you get some lace, you bought it on Etsy, wherever you bought it. If you just take it, white, brand new, fresh lace, and throw it in with your laundry, your towels, your whatever, don't throw it in with just whitey whites because you're not going to get the same effect. Throw it in with something with some color because it just dulls down that brand new, super, super white color. It just dulls it down and makes it look like that lace has been around for a while. And I say that often, but even myself, I don't always have time. See all my little bits I cut off of there? I don't always have time to wash my lace either. But if you can, when you get that lace off of Etsy or wherever you're getting it from, throw it in the washing machine. So this guy's good. He's done. I'm going to glue him together, and I don't think I'm going to put a button in that flower, but I probably could find a tiny little button and put it in there. I don't like the button in there. I like the hole. So we're going to glue that one together. Do you have to glue everything? No, you don't. The other way of doing this is taking this guy right here, taking this guy and putting that staple, because I'm going to cover the staple up, right? You guys know I don't like just the staples. And so I'm attempting to staple through this doily. And I got most of it, but I didn't get all the way back there to that fabric, I don't think. We'll see. I've got my bottle of glue rolling around now. Yeah, I didn't quite get everything, but I got some layers. So we're going to add glue back here now. I've got that doily at the top, and so it's adding quite a bit of thickness. So I'm putting that back together. And you can see I kind of angled everything and put it at the top corner. So this was like this. I put it at that top corner. And then from there I went down. So don't always layer things perfect or perfectly square. And I can feel that I do have glue seeping through, so I don't need very much. And this is a very small little flowery thing. So I'm going to curl it with my finger and stick it. And that covers up my staples and glues it down, as long as it'll let go of my finger. It's not. Sometimes it just needs more. You know, most of these doily things are cotton, and so sometimes your glue just gets really absorbed into them. Hot glue is also, you know, a way of doing it. So there, it's a little three-dimensional little flower, and there's that one. So sometimes you could just sit in front of the TV and just make these, especially if you have the little box. If you've already made yourself that little box, you're good to go. You've got it all. You could literally just sit in front of the TV and do it, or, whatever. Maybe you have to do a task where it requires you to kind of sit there and not really focus on something. I don't know what that task is, but maybe you have some time in your life where you just have to be at a certain place and you just have to sit there. um, Throw some of this junky stuff in a bag and throw it in your purse with a needle and thread. And then you're sitting there at the doctor's office waiting on somebody to come out or whatever. You can sit there and assemble some little clusters. People might look at you weird, but who cares, as long as you're having fun. Okay, let's do another one. And let's start out with, let's make some smalls. I need very, very smalls to embellish like the corner of a pocket. Maybe we'll try some of this. I mean, any of these little pieces, they're already cut to shape, but I think I want a little bit smaller of a piece. So I'm going to see if I can rip this little guy. I can. Good. So we've got that and that. Now he is just all the way around to rectangle for me. So I'm going to chew him up a little bit. And I'm going to go on this one and kind of nick up that one. And nick this one up. I don't know. I've never tried fabric with the Tim Holtz Distress tool. I'm not sure if, it would work the same way. I think it's basically like a little thread cutter in there. So you might be able to chew up the edges of your fabric with one of those. So there's that. And then we need something else. Maybe we need a piece of this. We're very beige at this point. We have no white in here. I might just need a little tiny bit of this one. And so when I'm cutting, I'm really trying not to cut straight. So I'm wiggling my scissors back and forth like this. I'm not cutting. I'm not going like this. I'm just wiggling. And that's going to rough it up and cut it to where it's frayed. So I'm cutting, putting it in there. I don't know how I want to do it just yet. Maybe something like that. Don't want it quite so obvious. Let's do this rough edge out and that like that. That looks pretty good. And let's do one of these red laundry numbers in here. This one's a wider one. Let's do a couple of those. And when I cut this, I'm going to try. I've never actually done that before, but I'm going to try to pull it. Yeah, it works too. Pull it and kind of wiggle your scissor. And that'll do that. Good. Let's kind of rough up this top. I'm just trying to make everything look not perfect, not brand new. Because even though some of this is vintage, it just looks brand new still. So we could glue that. We could sew a button on there. We could safety pin it. There's a million other probably things you could do with it. Let's see what I have here. I have a favorite kind of button, and I usually use all of those. And then there's nothing else left in here. So this one already has thread in it. It's a little white one. A little white glass one again. I don't know if I want that. It's kind of competing with the numbers. We could do black button because black button just kind of calms it down. Not for me. Maybe this one is a safety pin one, or maybe this one is a nothing one and we add something to it later when we're working on a journal. I don't really have any crochet in there, so let me tuck those back in my little space there. I've got other stamped bits, and I think we need crochet. So this time, I've got this little guy. Get back together. You could use like a little paper clip or something. I'm not super stressed because the more crooked it gets, probably the better. It just looks like it naturally wants to be crooked there anyway. So maybe it needs tucked in, or maybe that's just too much. Maybe I need something slightly larger. Let's go with slightly larger. This one. So now I've got like a little snowflake looking thing. It's pretty good. I don't know that it's my favorite. And again, you're not really supposed to take hours. You're just supposed to do. That one might be good just the way it is. It might be. When I do these lives, I think I tend to over stress about it because I'm like, but they're watching, you know. You can't make something ugly, they're watching. I think I'm just going to do it the little 4 things. So normally I try to do 3 or 5, 5 or 7 random odd numbered things in a cluster, but this one has 4 and I kind of just like it. It might just need a safety pin, but we're going to do that. I'm going to save that one. I'm going to zip up that bag or all those millions of pieces will fall on the floor. So we have glue. Let's glue it. You have as many as you've made. There's not a number. I keep whatever I have on hand. When I sit down and make them, I try to make as many as I can. And that's the same thing with everything I do. When I'm going to take that time and I'm going to get out all those supplies, you bet I'm going to sit there and I'm going to make as many of whatever it is I'm making that I can, because I'll use them all eventually. And I've already made the mess and I've already dedicated the time to doing it. So I might as well just, do it and make as many as I can before, I have to leave or I have to, clean up my mess or whatever. For this one, let's try that garment pin. And sometimes you can get like a little button to dangle on a garment pin. It just depends on the button and how it will hang on the garment pin. That one hangs on there. Let's try to do a button on a garment pin and through that label. I glued that label already, so now I'm going through glue and it came apart, pulling on it a little bit too much. But now we've got a garment pin with a button, if I can close it without poking myself. Okay, so we've got a number, we've got a garment pin, and a button. That button's kind of covering up that bottom number. And I'm going to pin that or glue that. See how it doesn't lay though? That kind of bothers me because it'll be bumpy in a journal and I don't want it bumpy in a journal. So we're not going to do the little button, but I will do the garment pin. Bye bye button. I like the garment pin part of it. So you got to remember, if you're going to put it in a journal, it can't be too bulky or someone might have a hard time writing over it. I need to take this back apart. Someone might have a hard time writing over it. So generally, if I'm making these clusters with the crochet things and stuff like that, I'm putting them down in the bottom corners of pages or pockets or the top corner or the side edge. I'm trying to keep them away from where people are going to write. And so that's something to consider as you're building stuff. A, don't make it too thick because it's just going to fluff out a journal unnecessarily. And B, when you put them places, try to think about if it was your journal and you were having to write in that journal, how would you, want it? Would you want it to, would it be too thick to write over, I guess? Now, sometimes you have really thick, fluffy journals and then you just have writing boards. It's not the best. I probably would come back at some point and put a little bead right there, but I don't have beads in here. So it's just a tiny little one. It might just need another piece behind it. This whole time I've been thinking, well, why don't you just stick something else in there? Like, I mean, I even could put, another piece of fabric. It just, in my opinion, that one still needs a little something. let's see about putting this back there. Yeah, it just made the difference. So this was great. Love it. Just a little bit of lace. But this behind it just kind of makes everything pop. And maybe it's just because I like everything warmed up. I don't know. The vintage, vintage photo fabrics. I really do need to get up and go get another bottle. We're going to keep fighting with it. So I've just lightly tacked it and all of it is still loose. So there's that one. See what else we can do. Every single decision hurts your head. You just got to do. And honestly, it's just scrappy bits of stuff that if it doesn't work out, there's always some way of fixing it, first of all. And if it doesn't work out, ultimately, you didn't really waste anything. Let's try didn't really waste anything that cost you an arm and a leg. Let's do one with one of these stamped pieces of fabric. Another thing to do one day if you want to create something, you feel like you want to make something, but you don't know what you want to make, sit down and stamp your favorite stamps or a new stamp set that you just got. One of my favorite things to do is buy new stamp sets and then never ever use them. So sometimes when you get a new stamp set and you went shopping and you've got maybe several new stamp sets, sit down when you first get them and just stamp them on fabric and stamp them on paper. When you stamp them on paper, you can just leave the whole sheet just with stamped images and then come back in later and tear around them and tear them out as you use them. Or you could keep your little torn stamped fabric or paper bits in a little bin or whatever. But just use your stamps, because if you get in the habit of right when you went shopping and you bought that new stamp set and you took it home and you don't know what you're going to make with them, but at least you stamped them. At least you used that stamp set one time, right? So when you get to stamp set, stamp on fabric. Sit down, you don't know what you want to make, stamp on paper and fabric. It's easy, it's satisfying to do, and then you can use these little bits later. But I promise you, if you were in the middle of making a daisy journal and you were like, oh, I would really like a piece of fabric with a daisy stamped on it, it is going to take you 20 minutes to get this together. But if you already have it done, it's easy and you can pull it out and you can use it. But if you had to sit there and think about, well, I got to find the fabric and I got to get the right stamp and then I got to get the right ink to go on fabric and then I got to do it and then I got to wash my stamp and put it away and clean it up, you're not going to do it. But if you did it already, it's there and you can use it. So create some things for later creation, I guess was the whole point of that. Do you have the hat size ribbon? It is in the live sales. Yep. I will try to bring it in the next couple. It might be here on Tuesday. We are doing lacy, fabricy things this week, on this coming week on Tuesday. I'll try. I have to cut it and I have to prep it beforehand. So I'll try for this Tuesday. If not this Tuesday, next Tuesday. How do you clean stamps safely? You can wash them under the sink. If it's water, if it just needs clean with water, I just take them to the sink and wash them. I have a little vegetable scrubber that I only use to clean ink off, and so I can do that. Sometimes if it's like stays on or whatever, you can use hand sanitizer and rub it over it and then use that little brush and then rinse it. There's stamp cleaning sprays, stamp cleaning little, it's like an ink pad, but it's got brushy stuff in it, and you rub your stamps in there after you spray the stamp cleaning spray. There's all different kinds of ways to do it, but normally I'm lazy and I just use water or hand sanitizer. If something stains my stamp really bad and I don't want it to, sometimes I'll try putting alcohol on it and wiping it. But if you're using a permanent ink like StazOn or archival or whatever, it is going to stain your stamps. There is archival cleaner and stuff like that, and it does help, but it's okay to have stained stamps. It just means you used them. And the staining on stamps does not hurt them, does not impact the stamping of images. It really doesn't hurt anything. Hello, Rebecca. This one was probably archival. I'm not sure, but it was probably archival ink. And I probably had just re-inked it or whatever, but generally I just stamp on muslin. These were vintage linens that I cut up. Here's some more. So I just sat, and I think I did this during a live one time. See, this one did not get a good stamp image. And I just sat and I stamped. I don't know what I was doing, but I was doing it for some purpose. Maybe I was just doing it to do it. But I like to keep them on muslin and some type of white fabric. Sometimes I want white ones, sometimes I don't want white ones. So there's those. These little bees would be cute. Let's do a bee one. I have these ones here too, but let's do a little bee one. I have used these. Oh, I used these in the Italian Ladies Journal. I made little clusters and put the little bee, I believe it even was a bee, at the top of a cluster like I'm about to do now. So this is just the perfect little piece for like a rusty safety pin or a button to go through on the top of something. So don't throw it away. Put it in your bin. Put it in your scrap basket. Put it wherever you put little tiny things. I don't throw away any type of little tiny piece of anything because I will use it. I might not use it for years, but I'll use it eventually. Or I'll get tired of looking at it and at some point throw it away. Okay, so we have a B. We have our focal point. We're going to work backwards from the top down now this time. So we're going to do our B on top. Underneath, we're going to need to layer up that B with something. Let's do like some gold because I think B's look good with gold. So let's do some gold lace. Working backwards, I think we need something in between the gold and the B. How nice would some tatting be behind that B? Let's see. No, tatting, it's gold and I like to put it on top where you could really, really see it. I have shown you guys the piece of tatting that this was cut off of. It's the largest piece of tatting you guys will have ever seen in your life. It is a tablecloth or a bed cover or something like that. It's massive. But I have been cutting off rows of it and then wrapping it up so I can use it. Anyway, tatting would have been good, but I just don't think it fits for this project. So in my little bin, see, I have all of this crammed in one little square. Let's find something to put back here behind the gold. Or maybe over the gold. I don't want to cover up these roses, but maybe something like that. So I'm keeping it very golden and warm looking. And then I'm just going to stack these back up and I'm going to push them back in my little bin. Remember, I want things vintage looking. So if they come out wrinkled, which they really don't, it doesn't matter to me. It's better for them to be wrinkled. They look older. So we've got that. Now I'm digging in this little guy over here. There's a little bit of black lace. This is like maybe a piece of a collar or something. I don't even remember having or owning this. So I'm finding things I didn't know I had. And I apparently at some point had it out because it's in that bin. I don't want to cover it all up either. It's too beautiful to be covered up. So we're going to have to position our bee carefully. I want the black in there. I want the gold in there. So I'm just visually moving things around. This gold is going to hang over the edge, I think. Maybe not, but it's going to be on the edge. And then my little bee is going to go up here in the corner. And I'm going to move this black one down so that I don't cover it all up. Playing. We need something else. We've got a good start, but we need something else. I think everything looks better with a little bit of white kind of mixed in with it too. It just kind of, I don't know, lightens it up a little bit. So now I've got this whitish color muslin kind of peeking out over here, and I like it. It's peeking out up here. I think we're pretty good there. Let's go ahead and do some trimming on our black little applique. I honestly don't know where this came from. I know at one point Joanne sent me some things, but I don't know if this is one she sent me or not. So I roughed that up and cut it, and it's got this little dangly bit. That's better for me that it's got a dangly bit. And then assembling again. And there's our bee. I don't want to cover it up too much. And remember with clusters, I said, don't worry about what you're covering up. Easier said than done. Covering up all that beautiful black lace is killing me. Let's dangle it the other way. Yeah, that's better. So our little bee is going to go up here in this open place where the black lace wasn't. It's going to go like that. I think we're good there. I think we're good. Let's do that one. When you're playing, honestly, you're just going to have so much fun. It's just fun to play with your things. It's fun to use your things. Yes, it's fun to buy your things. We all do it. We buy, we hoard, whatever. Yes, that is fun. That's definitely fun. However, when you use your things, that's when you get the joy out of them. Because, you know, especially in this case, you're just using the tiniest little pieces of things. Now, that glue kind of went through my muslin. I'm not going to care. When it dries, it's going to be just fine. Those are stamped with some permanent ink, so that's all good. You could put a little button. You could put a little safety pin. For me, I think it's good just like this. It's got glue on it. Everything's stuck together. If I quit touching it, it will really be stuck together. And that's that. So there's that one. My glue's dripping on my desk. I know. If I even went in my craft room, because I honestly haven't spent time in there in quite a long time, except for like to go in there, do a task, and get out. I need to clean out my craft room because there is so much stuff in my craft room. Like the hat number would have been good in there too, but there's so much, I got distracted. So much stuff in my craft room that I probably don't need in there anymore, or I forgot about, or whatever. But no, I really like him the way he is. Okay, moving on. Red fabric. What other kind of fabric do we have? Let's do a fabric flip. So we've done some little clusters. You kind of get the idea with little clusters. We're going to sew some, and I want to sew some accenty things onto fabric, but let's do a fabric flip. So a fabric flip, where's my little journal page? Fabric flips, you usually attach them to your page up at the top, and then you flip the whole thing up and you have some like hidden writing space under there. You can do it that way. You can glue it halfway through your page if you don't like, if you're gluing it on a printed page and you don't want to cover up the whole thing. There's no set size for a fabric flip. Fabric flip literally means fabric that flips up so you can write underneath of it. Let's go ahead and build one. And we're going to do this one that I loved this piece of fabric because I said we were going to see it again. So we're going to do that one. We're going to use some kind of lacy stuff. And I might make this one where the lacy stuff is underneath of the fabric. I might. We'll see. What else do I have to play with? Ooh, no, I have this one. I have this guy, and he is much older than this one. So let's do the older one. Ooh, look, I found a little bit. See? More little giddies. Let's snip out some of this. And I don't even care if it is straight. I don't even want it to be straight. So let's just snip some out. Snip and rip. I'm trying to put pressure on it so I can pull it and then just let my scissors, let the opening cut it. Okay, so we ended up with something like this, and it still came out pretty straight there, but that's entirely too straight for me. I'm weird about paper. Paper, you know, the straightness doesn't bother me nearly as much as the straightness bothers me on fabric. And I think it's just because it doesn't look vintage enough. Better. I might be able to live with that. We'll see. Am I going on the top so I can see my beautiful lacy piece, or am I going to go underneath? I think it has to go on top. It covers all my blue fabric up. I think I'm going to cut off this row because it's too wide, and then I'll save this row for later. So I'm not going to cut it perfectly straight. I'm going to try to trim around. And I'm just chewing the fabric with my scissors, taking little bites out of it. Trimming around what I want cut off, but leaving a rough edge. So some scissor tricks. And that's what I cut off. And we'll save that and use that for something else. But now I can see more of my blue fabric. So I just need to spin my blue fabric around till I get the side that I like the best. It might be that one, or it might be this one. Let's go with this one. So now we've got that. The only thing that I need to make sure of is that this is going to fit on a page. So I don't want to go wider. I don't want to go over my page. A little overhanging out here wouldn't kill me, but I don't want anything that's going to bunch up into the spine of my journal. So that's okay. We're good on size there. And then from there, let's add let's add something we haven't played with yet. I have this, which it's killing me to use it. I really want to use it, but it will compete with this one. That might be good once we get finally up there to the top. What else do we have to play with in here? I need to dig in here. A whole bunch of the same thing. Here's a little piece of linen. It's a little piece of linen with a little border on the edge of it. I don't think I want to cover that up. Here's a little piece of some netting. Maybe netting would be good. It's kind of like a piece of wedding veil. I think we'll do the netting. It adds some texture, but not super happy with that. Let's keep playing. I'm looking at my little stamped bits. Let's see what we need to do here. That would be good to finish it off, but I'm going to have some other kind of a layer. I need something that's definitely whiter in color and a little more decorative. We're getting there. That's not bad. This Battenberg thing would have been good too. Little piece of it. Next time, maybe. Let's see. Do I need the Battenberg there? Let's do it. And that's just the way I cut these. It's just chewing them up. I don't know that we need this one here, but maybe. I think not. Hopefully you guys can see. I'm hoping. I think that's good. Let's go ahead and get us a nice piece of this tatting. Tatting goes back in there. We've got some little tatting bits. I like it. I like it a lot. I need this one to be more rough on this edge. So it's probably rough enough where I could just use my fingers, but I'm going to catch it with the scissors a little bit more. I just wanted it to look a little older. This is a very old looking fabric flip at this point. Okay. We've got that going. So the only thing now that is bothering me is the little peaked edge from the piece of fabric. I don't think I'm going to stress about it, but I would have rather just torn myself a nice rough edge with some fibers out there. That looks pretty good. I would like another something up here at the top. Let me go ahead and see what I have for the larger doilies. Like I've got something that looks like that. And I think I want some of this coming over the top. The tatting covers all of that up. So we're kind of like this. It's just a little layer. Couple things are bothering me, so I'm just going to keep playing until I get it. I might want to go at an angle. Let me see what that would look like. I'm telling you, it's really handy just to have a piece of coffee dyed paper next to you when you're playing. So I could do this one, kind of have it tuck out. Maybe it tucks out over there. Or maybe I just trim this edge off. And then it's just a little bit, it's just the tatting, the little tatted, not tatting, peaked edge, just bothering me ever so slightly. It's okay. I think I like where we're going with it. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to call that good, unless I did this. But I think we're getting very close to calling that good. It's just that warmer color tone, so one of those will be good. And let's look at some cheesecloth or something else in there. I'm liking warming it up. I want to keep it kind of flat though, because this has to go. This one has to go on a page in a journal. So this doily, while I really like it, it might just be a little bit too much. So this is a lot more flat to put on a page. So this is what it will look like. And I do like that. It's just basically a bunch of layered up scraps of fabric. So I think I'm going to go with this one. We're going to save these. We will use them another time. As far as leaving this, I'm going to leave it for now, but when I put it in a journal, I very, very likely will probably trim some of that off and have it tucked over there more. So that would be my fabric flip. I'm going to finish it, but it would flip up like this and you could write. I still could even have a pocket down here underneath. So I like the size of this one. A lot of people, and I'll build another one too, but I'll show you. You put the lace across the top and then drip it down. For this one, I'm going to keep this very lightly glued because that glue is also going to add thickness in your journal. So keep it very lightly glued as much as I can here with what I got going for glue. Just lightly, lightly, lightly tacking. This might have been a good one for the stapler too, just because it adds a little less bulk. And then for this tatting, I'm going to try to get a little bit of glue right there in the center. And that's all I'm doing to adhere this for now. I'm trying to glue it. I think it just needs to sit. But that's the first one. It's just super scrappy. I think we're going to have to put a little safety pin there. It just, my eyeballs won't let me not do it. They will not let me not do it. So if I can get this safety pin off up here, we're going to put this safety pin on. Goodness, I went all the way around the paper clip. So this is the safety pin. As long as I keep it up near the top of a journal page, I think it will be fine. The problem is you're going to have to write over it. So I'm not going to clip this through and like glue it. I'm literally going to clip it so someone could remove this safety pin if they need to, because it's going to go on a page. So now we've got a rusty safety pin in there. Could I put a button? Yes, I could just keep going, but At some point we have to stop. Like it could have a little button up there too. I'm gonna do it. This has got a really big bump on it though. I want to so badly. We're just gonna do it and I'm gonna make it work in the journal. However, the back of this button has quite a bit of string in it because it's one of those ones that has like old string in it. I'm going to have to be very careful where I place this one in a journal, and it's going to have to go up near the top like this. I'll be okay because we're going to layer up so many pockets in a journal at the bottom that this little thickness at the top probably isn't going to hurt anyone. Again, if they don't like it, they can remove it from the journal, but for now, this is what we have for one little fabric-y flip. And so it just flips up and you write underneath, but let's do one where we do keep it square. So there's that one. Let's do one where we keep it square, and I want to play with red fabric this time. So we've got my fabric bin of scraps right here. Let's pull out a scrap of this ticking. And I keep these too. These are great for playing. You can put this just like lace across the top of something. This was Tim Holtz fabric. Canvas fabric. There's that. This one, I love this rough edge over here. It is about the size of the page. Gonna need to do a little bit of trimming. So let's do that, and we'll create ourselves a nice little ribbon. A nice little ribbon for putting at the top of a tag, or I don't know what, a top of a tag, I guess. A loop for something, tabs, but that's what we tore off. Now we have this. We're good there. Let's get some fabric. Using it is the joy, definitely. So, fabricies. These are all French fabrics. Let's use something in the red family. Ooh, that one's pretty. It's a lot, but I do love it. We've got that one, and we've got this one. They all stick together, so I can't like flip through them. I like this one too, though. It's a little more pinky in tone. This one is super sweet. Let's play with those three. Or those four. See, I have to stop, or else I'll just pull all my favorites out. Okay. So there's those. See, this one is a whole lot of red. I don't have a journal that I can take this much red at one little dose. Let's hold off on those, and let's use this guy. I think he's my favorite for now. So I auditioned some red fabric. We're good there. For this one, I'm going to leave. Am I going to leave it this long? Yeah, I am, because it's going to go right off the edge of a page. We're good. I'm going to leave it that long. However, I want to layer up some things mostly at the top up here, and then they'll just kind of be layers. Again, someone in a journal could decide they want to use a piece of either of these fabrics. Any of this stuff I'm going to layer up. So it's like putting in some little lacy bundle of fun that they can play with and, you know, use in their journal. I've got that one, and you notice I'm leaving everything down up here. I got that one. Do I want this linen in this one? Maybe. It doesn't hurt me this time. What else is in this bin? A different piece of, that's a beautiful piece of Battenberg. We're just going to make them all with Battenberg. It's so cute, though. How can we not? I like it. I like it a lot. Do you guys like it? Are you guys liking the red and white aesthetic on this one? I think we're going to need doilies and lace at the top, and then we're going to be good on this one. Doilies and lace. What do we have for lace in here? What else do we have for lace in here? I really would like to get this bin cleaned out specifically because I like having my bucket on my desk. There's one of those. I like this lace better, but it's a little too short because I already used it. Okay, well, there's this piece. So for this fabric flip, it's going to cover pretty much an entire page. And then the person using the journal will flip it up and write underneath of it. And I want that piece sticking over the edge. And there's that lace. And then this, you notice this little doily has a spot on it. I don't care. The fact that it has a spot on it is even better. Okay. I'm good with that. We're going to cut this lace off. Maybe. We are. And then that's going to go there. So you're collaging with fabric. How can we not use laundry numbers here, though? Like you knew it was coming, right? Yep, we're definitely using laundry number there. I don't have anything to warm it up. There's nothing in here that is warming this up for me. It's maybe a little too warm. Let's keep playing. Run a ribbon through that top lace. You could definitely do that. That's actually why I pulled some seam binding so that we could make little bows and put them on, but I just haven't gotten to that yet. This one is a little less warm. This one is definitely like coffee, and this one is more tea. Let's see about the tea one. It's good. It blends in more with that one. The fabric back there has a little off-white color to it. Let's see what else I have. I have that original snowflake. See, look, I have it in every color. I have it in coffee, I have it in tea, and I have it in milk. Let's try the tea version of this one. And the reason why I don't really like that one as much is because it's thick. And the thickness might bother me. So let's try this one. And then I swear we're moving on to finishing it. I do like to play with my things. I think you guys can see that. Do we want another little piece of fabric up there? Like in a coordinating pattern? Because I have little coordinating patterns. Do we want like the little floors up there? You need to stay over there. I don't think it adds anything for me. Slightly, but maybe not enough. I think we're good. We're going to do it. There's a point where I have to call it quit. Okay, so I have this going on up here. I might want to do a little bit more up here at the top. That's pretty good. We're getting kind of thick, so I think we're going to call that good. And now I'm just, if I was just sewing it,
on the sewing machine, I could just do that. But we're just going to tack it with glue for now. And I probably will, because this is a flip, I probably will take it to the sewing machine. But let me get some of this tacked down. And then I'll sew across the top when I take it to the other room. And so I did leave it down right here. And I want to make sure I catch that. And I'm not putting much glue, and I'm not putting it right where I'm going to sew either. This little piece, let's hold on. We might pin that on. And I just need to run some glue through here. Trying to keep things straight, but it's okay if they're crooked too. So I'm going to have to put this one in my French farmhouse journal. Good. I don't know if this doily's tacked to anything. It's not. So when I do the doilies, I put the glue on the back side of the thick parts of the doily, like the flower petals in this case. It's really the only thing that's going to hold the glue. So I'm gluing that on. I think I glued this, but I'm not sure. We're going to do it for sure. If my glue works, flick it down there. All right. I think we've got it. It's a pretty good one. It's pretty good. It's got all kinds of fun things. Now, I think it might be a little long, but I'm going to have to wait until I put it in a journal and see how I feel about all of that. So I've got it kind of coming out everywhere, and I like that. But when I've got it in a journal and I'm actually going to use it, if I don't like it coming off the top, at that point I could trim it. It might look good with a little bit of the coffee dyed page showing. And honestly, this layer is just a little bit like too long visually, but I'm going to leave it because I don't know how I want it in the end. So I'm going to leave it for now, but we did make a nice large fabric flip. So when it is glued to the top of a page, you could sew it on the top of the page if you wanted to, but anytime you sew on paper, it does perforate the paper. And so I would be worried if someone was lifting it up and writing on it and whatever, that at some point it might just tear the page. If you are going to sew on paper, make sure you elongate your stitch so that you're making less holes in your paper. Space out your stitch so it's, as few holes as possible. Yeah, I'm just going to leave that one. We need to do something with this up here though. Am I pinning it? I might just be pinning it, or we could sew a button there. Let's just sew a button. We haven't sewn a button yet. Let's just sew a button. Don't need that. Maybe we need to sew a few buttons. I wish you guys could talk to me and I could hear you guys. This would be so much more fun if that was the case. It always feels so lonely just talking to myself the whole entire time. There's 3 buttons. I think we will do that. I know you guys cannot see. It's on paper now, so I can kind of pick it up. So we're going to put 3 buttons somewheres around here at the top. The January 14th auction. Inga, you have an invoice out there. I have sent it to you to your email. Check your email inbox for your invoice. I can make sure right now. I know I have done yours and packed and shipped your package, printed the shipping label. Let me check for you, Inga. Does anyone else have a question that they want me to check for real quick? Let me check first for shipping labels. Yes. I shipped yours on the 20th. Let me check your invoice. To sign in real quick. So invoices come, for all you new people, invoices come to your email, and you just open up the email from me and your invoice is kind of in the email, you just click the pay button. So if I've shipped your package, you definitely have the invoice. And it was sent on the 20th as well, Inga. Let me look at it and make sure that your email address doesn't have any like weird little character at the end or anything else. Sometimes it does. It says that you opened up the invoice from me on the 21st, Inga. So you have seen it. It's in your email. It tells me when you open them and view them. It says you opened up the emails. So look in your emails from me and you'll find it. Yeah, you definitely could hand stitch it. Absolutely. And if you hand stitch, you think about using like decorative threads. Think about using threads that are like, for this one, you could use a red thread and do like a little bit of red work, slow stitching on something or whatever. That would be cool too. Embroidery, if you feel like doing that. Sometimes I use like these little pieces of eyelet. Um, since it's kind of a nice white canvasy kind of material, you can slow stitch just some little random slow stitches in there. You could do a little embroidered flower or just X's. I mean, even if you don't know how to sew per se, or you don't know how to do embroidery, just doing little X's across some fabric is really, really cute. I brought in like cream colored thread, but we could definitely do that too. So for this one, I would just sew these buttons on. For now, I'm just going to set them here and we'll do it. But let's try sewing something. So there's that. I'm going to leave that just the way it is. Let me wrap it up and put it over here. Let's sew something. Yeah, it's been sending you reminders too. Just look at all your emails from me. Okay. Let's get something to sew on. Like I said, I really wish that I had brought in colored thread. One of these has my needle in it, this one. Let's sew something together. You guys, if you have embroidery thread, you can use that and it adds the thickness and the color. I would really like to go get some of that, but for now, let's use this thicker one. And now my fingers are all gluey, so threading a needle with gluey fingers is always fun. But let's use this thicker one. The string is stuck to me. And I'll try to thread this. I got most of it in there, but I didn't get all of it. It's multiple strands, and I separated the strands. So we're going to set that piece to the side. Don't need it. It'd be good for sewing in a button, though, putting a bow in there. I got gluey fingers. It's really not great. Okay. We're just going to take off a little bit. And I'm going to leave this doubled because I do want some texture here. So I'm going to use the thread and I'm going to double it so that every stitch I make you have a little bit more visual impact. What should we sew this on? Let's sew it onto something else that's textured in different color. So we're going to make a little bit of a cluster. This, I'm going to have to leave that on the top though so that I can sew it. There's just that little tiny bit. Maybe that's enough. Or maybe this one's enough. So I'm not leaving myself much room to put any stitches in there. I think maybe I like the other one better. This one. And then I can come in and just do some little X's or something. Let's leave these off for now. I'm not sure about them. And maybe we'll layer up a pattern of fabric back there. I need a little something else back there. I think we're going to go like this. I'm going to cut this one down. We use that rough edge to our advantage. Dang it. I got to leave it to where I can see it. Okay. Well, sometimes you just got too much white. There it is. Now we're good. And then I'm just going to sew down that. I mean, you could have a little number there too. I can't leave it alone. Okay. I have a little crochet. Hello, Shauna. It says she's opened it, so I'm thinking she just didn't know that was her invoice. But Inga, I'm going to, here, it's just easier. Let me just do it. Let's see if it'll let me. It sent it again to you. So if you look right now, it just sent it. Found it? Okay, good. Just a little something. I'm not leaving myself any place to sew. So we're just going to sew. We're just going to sew. Okay. So here's this. My glue's open. We're good. So I'm not really even going to care exactly how or where I do it. If you're going to sew, come up from the back. If you've never sewn before, come up from the back so that your knot is on the back. If you want your knot on the back, and I'm just going to kind of sew this one like I was slow stitching something and just do like a little running stitch right here. It's kind of hard because I got to do it a mile away from my face where normally, because I'm blind. So I did a whole bunch of stitches. I did a whole bunch of little running stitches. And I'm just going to pull that thread through so that I get like a bunch of them all done in a short amount of time. And because I really used thick thread and I really doubled it up, you're going to hopefully see them as I do them. So now I'm going to go down a row, just down a little bit. I'm going to line it up. There it goes. Go down a row, and I'm going to do another running stitch. I don't really want it puckered, but if it puckers, that's okay too. And I'm going to do another running stitch. So a running stitch is where you poke your needle through and you come through your thread, but instead of pulling up every single stitch, you just keep that stitch on your needle and you go back down and grab another stitch. And then you come back up and get another one. And then I might even go off of this and go over there one more so that I can go back to the back. And obviously this isn't a, slow stitching tutorial or whatever, but I'm just putting very rustic stitches across the top in rows. And I'm going to go back through one more time. I like to do at least 3 rows because otherwise people are not really sure, like, what the point was, right? So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to go back through one more time. And that one I am going to go straight through because it's off my white fabric. And now I'm going to come up and this is where I'll do my running. It's hard to do it on camera. I'm not really set up for that. I've got to be able to see it. Okay, so I did some more running there. Amy Danielson. Let me look, Amy. Well, you're on YouTube now, so it should be Amy Danielson. Let me look, Amy. It's easier if I look right now while we're live. I don't have you even in the computer, Amy. So that means I did not send you an invoice. When did you order? If it's from Tuesday, nobody's been invoiced from this Tuesday. That one from Inga was the week before our Tuesday. If it's from this Tuesday, nobody's been invoiced. And it's because you don't get invoiced for this week until probably on Monday. So I'm making very, very rustic, rough stitches across here. And now I'm going to do one more row. So I'm coming up from the back. You might be from this week, Amy. Tuesday of this week has not been invoiced yet. And you're not in the computer, so you're new to me. So I'm doing a running stitch again right here, another row of them. So you're new to me, and as long as I have an email from you, you'll get your invoice either this weekend or Monday. I try to have them all out by Monday, but tomorrow in the morning, well, I guess I shouldn't say in the morning. It's really at noon, but tomorrow at noon, I'm going to my daughter's wedding dress fitting and getting that all finished. My daughter's getting married. She's getting married in March. So I've got 4 rows of little stitches there. They're very rustic. I really like them. I think I'm just going to leave it with 4. I don't really think that I need any more. And so, you could tie this up a million different ways. I just like to do it like that, where I go through one stitch and then tie it. And then I can go back through one more and tie it. So I go through the stitch and then put my loop of my thread over my needle and pull it. So that's that. We've done some very rustic stitches, and they did pucker a little bit, and I really like the fact that they're puckered and ratty looking. I think it's just cute. So that's very rustic, and again, I could put it in my farmhouse journal. And that one I'm just gonna tuck right there. So we've got that going. I like it very much. I do think it needs some other kind of little focal point, like a little button or something. That one little black button has been hanging out here forever. Maybe we need it. I can't tell if it kind of looks black, but every time I put it on something, it doesn't look black. Okay, so not that. I'm going to go rustic and use a little tiny connector piece. That one that I had out earlier was pretty good. This guy. I can't. He's covering up all my stitches. I need one more other little element on here. Or this needs to go on something else. One or the other. Maybe just one little number. I feel like I use that number thing a lot though, so maybe we don't do that. Maybe I'll just put a white button on there. Yes. A white button will be good. By white, I mean any kind of mother of pearl, whatever button. White glass. The little milk glass ones are always my favorite. I don't know why, but luckily for me, they're very common. So here's a little milk glass one that already has string through it. I kind of would like one that doesn't have string through it. Let me digging in the bottom. Maybe this one needs to go on here. I think it does. It's very rustic looking. Okay, we're gonna do it. I keep saying that, but we're gonna do it. Have to find the right button. I'm auditioning buttons. Okay, guys. So Anybody have any questions about anything before we wrap this session up? We've got like 25 minutes. Does anybody have any questions? Is there something I said I was going to do that I haven't done yet? Gotta find the right button. So fabric clusters, fabric play, you just do what looks good to your eye, but I do like using odd numbers of things, odd numbers of pieces of lace and whatnot. I think it looks better that way, but you do you. I really like the fact that we could add little rusty bits in. You could clip a charm, like maybe what this really needs, because I'm struggling so much, is for me to dig in this bowl and find like a garment pin and a charm. Oftentimes, like a little charm and a garment pin is really all it needs. Oh my gosh. Here is a little rose on a little garment pin. And we can clip that right through one of those stitches that I did. So my little rough stitches right here. Let's go up here in the corner. Let's see how that looks. So I can just clip it right through one of my little stitches. All right, well, we need to turn it the other way, but other than that, we're good. Yep. My rose has to be going the right direction. Will it lay that way? We shall see. No, it just wants to flip over. We're going to have to take our little charm off and put it back on. There we go. Oh, no, we don't. There we go. I'm telling you, I'm getting like more blind every day now. Okay, so we've got that situation. That's pretty good. It's pretty sweet. Having a little bin like this that you can just dig through all the time on your desk is really, really nice. I do have some beads in here. I kind of forgot about that too. We could sew a bead onto something. There's all kinds of little clips in here. We could have sewn one of these on because they have little holes in them. Could have sewn one of these to a fabric cluster. I do have ribbon crimps in here, but that's going to be coming soon in a video. What else is in here? I could also have sewn on a little crystal. See, I could just play with things for days. You guys know why the little videos in the morning are so much fun is because I actually do get to play. I'm ready to sew a button on, but I don't have a button. I did put a little charm on it. I keep trying to find the right button. Like the texture, the little stitching, it just adds something. So like if you were just going to sew, where are those little pieces? If you were just going to sew a little X just for texture, I mean, you can, if you want to make something and you don't know what you want to make, just sit there and take scrap pieces of fabric and sew little X's on them. Like, you're not really making something right that second, but eventually you're going to use this little piece of fabric. I'm going to see if I can get another one on here. Eventually you're going to use this little piece of fabric in a cluster and it's going to be great and you're going to be happy. I'm going to run out of thread. You're going to be happy that you sat there and sewed your little X's in, because now I can just take this piece of fabric, if I can get this done. You're going to take this little piece of fabric and you're going to sew it or glue it to the top. I'm running out of thread. I gotta stretch it. I got two little X's. And so now this is just a little embellishment for a cluster. Now, can I finish this off? Probably not, but I'm going to try. Yes, I can. Maybe. Anyway, I'll do little embroidery or slow stitching or whatever videos if I can get this one finished. And now I got to pull it back. So I'll do those in the morning, the little not this morning or tomorrow morning, but I will do little slow stitching, little whatever videos. I have two little X's. I don't know if you guys can see them because they're nearly the same color of thread, but that can just be an embellishment in a cluster. Like I could have very easily just glued that onto the top of something. So anytime you want to sit there and you want to sew and you don't know what you want to sew yet, or you want to do a project and you don't know what you want to make, just sit there and make little tiny bits of things. Like Tim Holtz always says, like compartmental making. Just make sections. Like I made a box of things one day, and then the next day you might take some of those little fabric pieces and you might stamp on them, and then you'll fill one of those little things. And then maybe one day you want to sew and you just want to sew some lines, like some running stitches, some X's, whatever you want to sew on there. If you can embroider little flowers or something like that, and then put those little pieces in a bin. And then eventually when you need a cluster, you've already got like most of the hard things done. Anyway, there's that one. I think it needs a button, but we're going to put it over there. See me on Tuesday. On Tuesday, we're going to have a live sale. We're going to sell little fabricy bits and, well, fabricy stuff, and lacy stuff, and all kinds of gorgeous antique papers. I do have paper next Tuesday. There's new stuff that came from France that I'm trying to work my way through. And a lot of that is sewing, fashion, fabric sample related stuff. I was going to go get a book, but now I'll just make you guys wait till Tuesday to see it. I am cleaning off the end of my glue because it was not behaving today and it bubbled all over. There is a little tiny bit in the bottom. I'm going to try to use that up. But that was pretty much some fabric play, some little cluster play. Basically, a formula is 3 to 5, minimum 3, but 5, 7 pieces of little stuff. Make sure that you're adding in different color and different texture as you go. Texture meaning, like, this is obviously very textural, right? But you could also do different textures of flat laces, different colors, layer them up so that you can see bits peeking out from behind each other, that kind of thing. Trying to wipe the glue off my fingers. Never want to sew? Uh-oh. I like hand sewing. I shouldn't say usually. I really do like to hand sew in journals. Like sometimes I'll hand, like when you fold up a paper, I'll hand sew the pocket closed on the edge. I think hand sewing in a journal is fine. You're piercing the paper, but you're not piercing the paper like a sewing machine does, where it's a tiny bunch of perforations right close together. The same way that you would think of like a ticket that's perforated and you can just tear it off, or a coupon or whatever. When you sew with a sewing machine, you're basically doing that. You're perforating the paper so that it can easily tear off. But when you hand sew, you can do those wider stitches, and it kind of makes it safer to do that way, I guess. Anyway, I think we're going to wrap up this video. I'm going to have to get up and switch my cameras, but let me move some fabric away from me too. I've got bins and bins and bins of fabric in front of me. But I think I'm going to say good night. I will see you guys on Tuesday. If anyone has any questions, make sure that you ask them now. It'll be easier for me to answer them right while we're live too. Where's my cameras? There's my cameras. Hello, hello. Anybody have any questions? Not necessarily like you could ask questions about what we did, but if you have any questions about invoicing or shipping or kits or what's happening, let me guys give you the date too. Next Friday, I want to make those mini journals. Remember the Italian Florentine cards that we got? They were pretty decorative cards, and I said we were going to make them into mini journals. Next Friday's Craft With Me is mini journals from greeting cards. So if you don't have the Italian ones that I sold months ago, like it was around Christmas time or something, slightly before, I don't know. If you don't have those greeting cards, find some beautiful greeting cards that you like the front of. We're going to turn greeting cards into mini journals that are giftable next Friday.
So we're going to sew in a basic signature. We're going to, you know, decorate it, make little pockets. It's not going to be like as decorated as a regular journal is, obviously, because it's a mini journal. But find some greeting cards. If you got the Italian Florentine cards from me and you want to turn those into greeting cards, I do have more of those. I do have more of those, and we could definitely work those into Tuesday's live sale. You will not get them by Friday, obviously, if I sell them on Tuesday, but I wanted to get that project in before we start the next journal, so maybe we'll do them on Friday. How do you guys feel? Do you guys want to do the mini journals on Friday, or you want me to come up with something else so that everyone can get their greeting cards so that they all can play with us? Need an update on your Etsy order, Debbie? If you ordered in Etsy, Etsy is shipping separate of all other orders. As far as I am aware, we shipped all Etsy orders by themselves. I can open Etsy and look, Debbie. Let me look. But anyway, let me see. I'm pretty sure everybody's everything in Etsy ships separate. And I did say that, and I'm going to say it again. For the time being, everybody's Etsy order, if you order on Etsy, will ship separate. Debbie, I don't see an order. There's a lot of Debbies, so we'll have to get in touch with that. But if you ordered on Etsy, it ships according to Etsy. So Etsy has its own shipping time frames, its own everything. They require me to buy labels through them and print labels through them. So all Etsy things are going to ship through Etsy according to Etsy timelines. It depends on what it is, how long Etsy takes to ship. If you look in the listing, it says how long the processing time is per item. So some items take longer, some items like ship the next day. It just depends. But if you order things from Etsy, just know that at this time, there is no way for me to combine the two together in most cases. Rarely can I just it has to be, the Etsy order has to be shipping at exactly the same time as your live sale order in order for me to even think about combining it. Otherwise, it throws everything off. Debbie, I'm going to look in there because I just looked for Debbie and I see a whole bunch of Debbies, but I didn't want to, maybe your name is different or maybe I'm not seeing it yet, but I'll look. I'll look, Debbie. Do you want to tell me? Well, I'll just look. I don't want to say all your business out there, so I will look. Every Friday, I'm live with crafting. Every single Friday, we craft, we make something. Every single Tuesday, we have a live sale. And then throughout the week, every Monday or every morning, you get a 365 video. So on when we do the mini journals, it's going to be made out of greeting cards. So you're going to need a greeting card. It doesn't have to be a greeting card for me, just a greeting card. Or something that you're going to turn into a greeting card that you've already prepped and made into a greeting card. That's the one I saw in there, Debbie, and that's what I was going to ask you, but I didn't know if you wanted me to say. That one shipped, Debbie? Yes. No, it didn't ship yet. It says ship by January 31st, Debbie. Ship by January 31st. So that one you have ordered a bunch of things, and it requires a ship by date by January 31st. When you guys are ordering in Etsy, whether it be from me or from anyone else, in all of the listings, every single listing on Etsy, it gives you a processing time in the listing that's right there before you. It's right above where you click to purchase or add it to your cart. It tells you the processing time. And depending from my store, depending on what you order, it all has different processing times. You've ordered something that takes quite a bit of time to assemble if it is not pre-made already. I try to keep things pre-made, but you guys have been clearing out all of my stuff everywhere. So sometimes I have to have that whole processing time to make whatever it is that you've ordered. It probably will not take till January 31st, but that's the date in Etsy. It's okay. It's all coming. I know it's hard. I have to wait for things in Etsy too. And sometimes I'm like, I ordered that like a month ago. Where is it? And then I look and it's like, well, duh, it has processing time. So it's okay. It happens to all of us. It is. At least I know that that is the right order though, because I'm like, I don't see another Debbie order. So at least we got that cleared up. It might be minis next Friday. It might not. I don't know. I kind of want to give everyone a chance to get the greeting cards and do the mini project with us. And if so, we will just do this mini journal project on the first Saturday of February, probably. Let me check the date of that. So my daughter's getting married in middle of March. We're super busy with that. You guys wanted an update on my son. I know several of you guys asked, and a lot of you guys don't know, but my son has been very sick. And so I will quickly give you an update on that. The first Saturday in February would work for mini journals. Wait, will I ship them by then, and will you get them by then? If we sell them on Tuesday, invoicing by Monday, you still won't have them. We'll do, dang it. Fitting everything in the schedule is really hard. We will do them very soon, I promise. I know people want to do the mini journals. And so let me try to make that work. Let me try to figure out how that can work. Yeah, let me try to figure out how that can work. I might have to sell them on Tuesday, but maybe put them in this shipment from the previous Tuesday. I'm going to have to figure it out. It's going to take me a minute to figure that part out. But everybody needs them before we do it. Otherwise, I'm going to do it and then you're going to get it and you're going to have to watch it later. So let me figure out that scheduling. I kind of spoke a little too soon there, not realizing how many new people there are and how many people would want to do it that don't have the cards yet. But again, even if you don't have cards and you don't want to purchase cards, you probably have a greeting card somewhere you could use. Etsy does have a crazy waiting time. It does. Sometimes. It just depends. When I was doing coffee dyed paper, there were points in the coffee dye paper that you had a 28-day processing time. And it was because from 5 o'clock in the morning until 11:30 midnight every night, I was making coffee dyed paper 7 days a week, and you still had a 28-day wait before you could get it because that's how busy it was. I think I told you guys, I don't know if I told you guys the dollar amount, but I did tell you guys that during that super crazy busy time of making coffee dyed paper, my Etsy store was the #1 Etsy store for coffee dyed paper. And so it was like a crazy amount of paper. Like I could not, every day I was like, why is it going so crazy? Like, why do people love it so much? Like I knew it was good and I liked it, but like it just literally caught on fire. And so it went crazy. And then once I started this venture and doing all of this, I don't have time to make both. Coffee dyed paper is going to come back, but not until I get some help so that I can still maintain both, because I do like doing this and I do like making coffee dyed paper, but I can't do both at the same time because both are labor intensive. So it's coming. The fancy lacy coffee dyed paper is coming back. It's just going to be a minute before we can get it all back in there. And I know once it goes in Etsy, I need to be well stocked because it will be cleaned out again. I don't know why everyone likes it so much, but they do. And so I have digital form of it. I'll put digital in there too. But anyway, thank you guys for all of your support. You guys have been great. Thank you so much for clearing out Etsy and clearing out live sales. And it has been great. I am going to say that it is like, it is kind of at capacity. So I am doing my best, but that's why invoices are coming out Monday. It just takes me that long to process. And a lot of people don't understand, like there's hundreds of items that are sold to roughly 100 people. And all of those orders have to be assembled and packed and shipped and invoiced. And I have to put a bunch of new customers in the computer. And it all just takes time. And sometimes like I'll get an email from someone, but it won't have the full information. And I got to correspond back and forth that way. And it just takes a lot of time. So with that being said, just give me till Monday. They might come on Sunday, invoices from this week, but it's all going good. It's all working as it should. Everybody's everything from the sale before Tuesday has shipped, has been invoiced, everything, as long as I had your information. There are 2 people that I didn't have information for, and I have not seen them in here, but there are 2 people that I didn't have information for. I'll talk about that on Tuesday. The list is behind me. But other than that, every single person has been taken care of. Oh my gosh, thank you guys for everything. Seriously, thank you. You're set. Perfect. Perfect. All right. So, with all of that being said, I'll see you guys on Tuesday. I hope you guys have a great weekend. Do something fun. Oh, I was going to tell you about my son. Sorry, I started. So, he does still have a fever. He actually has not been feeling very good the last couple of days. And he has another large swollen thing on his neck again. He has the appointment with the doctor we've been waiting for on Monday. They said they called and said they needed to reschedule because the doctor was out of office. Then they sent me a confirmation text message saying they confirmed the appointment. Press C to confirm or whatever. So I confirmed the appointment, and then I called them and asked them. I said, so you guys called us and said that the doctor was not going to be in office that day and we needed to reschedule until March. But now you've confirmed the appointment. So is the doctor really going to be there, or is it just like the automated system confirming the appointments? They're like, no, the doctor's going to be here. So I have a feeling when we go on Monday, the doctor's not going to be there, but that's what they told us. So we're going to go. This is the appointment we've been waiting months for. So hopefully they find out something there. But he still has a fever. He has another swollen thing on his neck. So we're going to do that. We haven't done the bone marrow thing yet because we are afraid. And I honestly don't know that that makes the most sense. It was more of a ruling out kind of thing anyway, but it seems like there is like some kind of infection or something still, even though he's been on antibiotics this whole entire time. It still seems like there's an infection. So I think we're going to try to make it through, because we almost went to the emergency earlier today because he is not feeling good. Like, he isn't. He's that, so it kind of like ebbs and flows, and just the last couple days it's gotten bad again. And we were thinking of going today, but I'm like, we have that appointment on Monday. If we can tough it through the weekend, maybe make it to that appointment, only because we had to wait months for that appointment. I'm pretty sure when we go, the doctor's not going to be there, but we're going to try. So I think we're going to try to make it to that appointment and, see how things go there. Hopefully they can help us. It's a rheumatologist appointment, because they think, and I kind of agree, that the duration of it. So for you guys who are new, my son has had a fever every single day since April of 2024. And it's a very long time to have a fever. And we've been to many doctors, infectious disease doctors, all kinds of specialists, the leukemia, cancer doctor, all of that kind of stuff. They did want to do the bone marrow because that's the next logical step to rule out those lymphomas and leukemias and stuff. I hope that we don't regret putting it off, but I think we're going to see the rheumatologist and see what the rheumatologist says. If they want us to do the bone marrow, then we will do the bone marrow. The problem is my son he's not like a normal candidate for the bone marrow thing. He has to have it done at a special facility, and they have to have a lot of precautions because of other health conditions he has. So it's a little bit more technical and difficult than just a straight bone marrow biopsy for someone like, who was healthier or whatever. So I think we're going to wait and see what the rheumatologist says. But if they don't have that appointment for us on Monday when we get there, we might have to do the bone marrow, just because the next appointment would be the end of March, and it's waiting and waiting and waiting and delaying. Oh my gosh. We have tried to find a good doctor here, but doctors where I live, I don't know. We haven't had the best luck with them. So he is not feeling good at all. He has a high fever and he has that thing in his neck that is painful and swollen. And whenever that happens, he gets a whole bunch of other symptoms too. I'm not going to go into all of those other symptoms, but there's a whole thing that happens to him. And it's happened like that the whole time. Like all of this will come at once, and it'll be bad for a period of time. And then it seems to get better. And then it happens again, over and over and over again. But he does have that fever constantly, 24/7, all the time. He's on Motrin and Tylenol 24/7 all the time, and he still has the breakthrough fever. He's on antibiotics the whole entire time. Since he was in the hospital in September, he's still on antibiotics and he still has a fever. So I don't know. I appreciate you guys and thank you. I will tell him that you guys asked about him. I'm not going to talk much about it anymore. I mean, I am now because you guys asked and stuff, but I'm not going to talk about it as much like as I did initially in the beginning. It's just gotten to the point where people, you know how Tuesday ended. It's gotten to the point where people feel like, you know, they don't want to hear that stuff when they come to my craft show, and I get that. That's fine. You don't have to hear it then. But, you know, we interact and we hang out together and you guys tell me things and I tell you guys things, and so that's kind of how it started. Was, you know, I felt comfortable enough to share that with you guys. He was in the hospital and I was away for a while. So it's just, you know, over the time, because it's been since last April, you guys were made aware of it. Not all of the new people, but the people who were with me then were made aware of it. So I'm going to try my hardest not to talk much about it. This is the longest I'm going to talk about it unless something happens and there's some big update or whatever. But basically, he is still the same. It's just as it's gone on, we've learned a little bit more about how it is for him, that this will pass. But why it's happening, nobody knows. That's the way I feel about it. But unfortunately, there are people who, you know, we have to think about everybody else too. And some people, you know, maybe they lost a loved one and this is too triggering for them. Or maybe, you know, it's too stressful and they come here to craft and hang out and not have stress. So I understand all of that. I do, which is why I'm saying I want to be respectful. And you know, I don't have to say it. It's okay. So I'm just going to try to talk about it, not very much, but if there's some update or whatever, if you guys ask, that's okay. In craft with me's, in the live sales, I don't, because people really have said some bad things about it during the live sale or afterwards. So one lady even told me that she would like my son to no longer be around any longer. So I was like, okay, bye-bye. I don't know what else to say about that. So some people just can't handle it. So that's where we're at with that. Thank you guys so much for your prayers. I appreciate it. The crafting and the chatting. Thank you guys. I appreciate it. People, they come from all different places and they're going through their own things. And I totally understand that. That's why I'm not going to talk about it during my 365s. I'm not going to talk about it during live sale. And I'll very briefly mention it if you guys ask something in the future. I've told you as much information now as probably I'm going to say. So anyway, right, Kendall? Yeah, I know. That's why I said I'm going to get a mod that's like really quick with that button. I did want to say too about Tuesday, just very briefly, about the end of Tuesday. There were people in chat that were saying things and they thought that what I was saying was in relation to what they were saying. Everyone in chat on Tuesday night was not the people I was talking about. I have a silent moderator who is on the computer, who is monitoring absolutely all of your comments all of the time on this channel. And they are there for security, to keep out things that don't need to be here, people that don't need to be here, trolls, whatever you want to call them. And so during the sales and during chats, there's a separate area where I can see comments between the silent moderator and myself, and we can discuss through me typing, not verbally, issues that come up. There were 3 people that needed to be banned during Tuesday's live sale. Those 3 people were the people that were just grinding on me throughout the sale. And what happens is you block somebody for something, and then they will make a new account, and then they will be mad that they got blocked, and so they will come and say something worse than the thing that they said when they did get blocked. And it's not like we have to block people all the time. It's just every time we add a whole bunch of new people to our cute little tight-knit crafting hanging out community, when we add a whole bunch of new people, there's just a couple of those new people every time that just aren't right for our group, and they don't know how to behave in live chat. And so those people get weeded out before those comments ever get put on screen. And so they're held for review. They're reviewed, they're taken care of, and they're not here. I try to keep it away from you guys and away from on screen, right? Because nobody wants to see any of that. So anyway, that's the situation with that, is I have a different software that we're running to keep that kind of stuff out. It's not going to catch everything, but it is going to catch most of it. And so chatting through to the moderator and hearing that they've got another account, and the things that they're kind of saying and doing, and it's like they're just here to, I don't want to get into it, but they're here because they're in this business, they're in this, whatever you want to call it, live sale area, and they're upset that I'm doing what I'm doing. So I can't help that. I'm doing what I'm doing. You go do what you do. I wish you the most success in the world. But please just stop coming here and being a part of that, and go do you. And that's all I have to say about it. But anyway, my point was, nobody who is in chat is a problem, because if you're in chat and you guys are all seeing those people, they're not a problem, or they would have been banned. When you're banned, no one can see your comments. No one sees your nastiness. I don't even see your nastiness anymore because you're banned and you go away. You can see your own comment and you think that it's being posted in live chat, but no one can see it. It's just you seeing it. Once we ban you, no one, including me, can see your comments. You're the only person who can see your comments. And you just think that everyone's reading them and whatever, but nobody can. So I don't really get why they keep doing it. It's all good though. It's all good. It unfortunately, I wish that Tuesday did not happen. I wish that I had a little bit more patience there at the end, but it's just like, it's really hard to, like, you're looking over here, you're reading chat, you're talking to your moderator, you're doing stuff. It's just really hard. And so sometimes it just gets the better of me, and I let it get the better of me on Tuesday, and I will do better about that. Oh my gosh. Nobody needs to admire. My goodness. There's a lot of people I admire. I admire lots of crafty people who just have this happiest, go lucky attitude all the time, and they don't ever let anything bother them and get to them and get under their skin. There's a guy that I watch, and he is just always the most happy person ever. And so we were conversing about something, and one time I was like, you're just like the happiest person I've ever seen on camera. And he's on camera a lot, and he's very comfortable with it, and he's just always pleasant. Even when people are not pleasant, he's pleasant. And I'm just like, how do you do it? And he said, when I'm on camera, I'm going to be pleasant. But when I'm off camera, I say some words. And I was like, I don't know how I can get to that point, but we need to get to the off camera point. I'll try better, guys. I will. It's okay. It's all okay. It goes with the territory. And he said something funny to me. He's like, the reason he's this is how it is. When you made it, you're doing well when you have haters. And I'm like, what? You're doing something right when you have people who don't like what you're doing. And I was like, that's the craziest thing I've ever heard in my life. Literally. Like, I don't understand people. Anyway, I don't handle it beautifully. I lose it, and then we have Tuesday nights. I didn't say any choice words, but I definitely had high blood pressure. And I am part Italian. I guess like somewhere in the lineage is some Italian, so maybe that has to do with it. I don't know. It is what it is. And when you're live and you're out there and you're making videos and you're doing whatever, that just happens sometimes. It's okay. Everyone out there in the world is coming from different places. And sometimes I'll get a comment or something that upsets me, but I also have to try to think, like, what must this person's life be that they've decided to do this, and they're probably not in a really good place. So honestly, at the end of the day, after I'm not mad anymore, I think about them and I feel sorry for them. Well, that a lot of things, but the time for not tomorrow. No tomorrow, Kendall. Tuesday is the next time you guys are going to see me. If we do the card thing, it will be on a Saturday, but it's not going to be tomorrow. Is that what you're talking about? No, tomorrow. I'm not here tomorrow because I'm wedding dress fitting with my daughter. Yes, we do need to pray for our enemies. We do need to pray for our enemies. When I'm done being mad, I do feel bad about them. And yes, I should pray for them. I might not be quite to that point yet, but I'm working on it. I have prayed for some of them, but yes. You're Italian from New York. That's funny. Thank you. We're super excited for her. Super, super happy for her. She's marrying a very nice young man, and they're going to have a beautiful family, which more on that later. Weddings are so fun. And she's doing it here in March, which is beautiful time here because it's not warm and it's not cold. It's perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you guys so much. I'll let you guys go. Have a great weekend. Do something fun. If you get a moment of time, sit down and try to create something, craft something. I find it is the most rewarding thing. Like next to spending time with like my kids, grandkids when I have them, wink, wink. Um, next to spending time with those people, sitting down and crafting is honestly the most rewarding. And hanging out with you guys will probably be third. But crafting and creating something, even if I create something that's ugly, like I just enjoy it so much and it relieves so much stress. It gets me away from my like physical body pain doing that and focusing on that. It just makes me kind of forget about the physical body pain. So that helps too. Crafting art kind of things is so great for so many different things. I hope that you guys have some time to do that this weekend. See you guys all back here on Tuesday at, what are we doing? 6 p.m. Eastern time. 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Tuesday. Bye, guys. Have a good weekend. Thanks for the crafting chat. We'll see you guys again soon.